morning. This is Frank Herbert. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Hillsborough Board of Adjustment meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic with one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting will be conducted electronically. The public will be given an opportunity to participate in the meeting by phoning the following AT&T call-in bridge number in USA, toll-free, 1-888-204-5987, and given the access code 260-4706. Users will be prompted with additional information to join the meeting. All documents pertaining to any application on the agenda were available on the Township website at hillsborough.nj.civicclerk.com/web/home.aspx at least 10 days prior to this meeting. Board members, staff, and consultants will be participating remotely. The following staff members and support personnel will be presented in the courtroom: Patrick Gorman, our zoning officer, and Fred Kinsler from our IT staff department. Applicants will be presenting remotely and will identify themselves before testifying. This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law, 1975, the Sunshine Law. Notice of the 2020 annual meeting schedule has been provided to the officially designated newspapers, the Township Clerk, and posted on a bulletin board at the municipal Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex. Roll call, please.
Mr. Valchek?
Here.
Mr. Sirachi? Absent. Ms. Erickson? Here. Mr. Stamler?
Here.
Ms. Haynes? Here. Mr. Lilly? Here. Mr. Woolmacher?
Here.
Mr. Basil? Absent. Chairman Herbert?
Here. Tina, you're coming in a little low. Maybe if you can just talk a little louder next time. I have a little bit of trouble hearing you. Okay.
Never been
okay, the first thing on the agenda...
That's okay.
And that's the first time somebody ever told you that, right?
Hey, Frank, it's John. She's coming over fine on my phone.
Okay. No, I can hear. I see you just low.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing on the agenda tonight is consideration of meeting minutes, and we have May 6, 2020. Any comments from board members? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Who is that?
John, motion to approve.
Any second?
Janine Erickson will second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Mr. Valchek?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Valchek?
Yes. He wasn't. He wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if he can vote.
I don't have that list.
He's listened to the previous recording of the meeting, and I have a verified statement. It's Patrick speaking.
Okay, so he can't vote then? I haven't listened to that? Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Valchek, yes. Ms. Erickson? Yes. Mr. Stamler?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes? Yes. Ms. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Woolmacher?
Yes.
Chairman Herbert?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, this evening we have no resolutions to consider, and we have no Board of Adjustment business to consider. So the next thing is business from the floor, which tonight is people on the public telephone line. So at this point, Fred will unmute the line and ask the public if they have any issues that are not on the agenda. And also, if you happen to have had trouble accessing the documents for tonight, let us know at that time. We can address it. So Fred, if you open the line.
Okay.
Sounds right away.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode. Okay, the public line is open. Does anybody have any business that's not on the agenda from the public?
Of course.
Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Susan Bella, Fort Hunt Club Road. Okay, Mr. Herbert, under, the list of items that were available on the agenda, I did have a problem with one of them. The one marked planner's remarks. When I opened it up, I got a report from another company with a bunch of photographs of the site.
You know, that happened to me too, and when I did it the second time, I closed the thing, and when I opened it the second time, it was there. So,
Okay,
you might want to
I got that this morning in, I just got it.
Okay, so you're okay, good.
Ms. Telfer, it's Pat Gorman from the Planning and Zoning Office. I believe this is part of the presentation from the applicant and maybe from their professional planner that will be providing testimony this evening. It wouldn't be my report.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else on the public line that wants to talk? No. Okay.
Any other public comments that's not on the agenda?
That's not on the agenda.
It's John, Frank, the Board of Adjustment business. I just want to table it, so it's noted. We're still waiting for the status of our proposal to the Township Committee.
Okay.
So another month went by and nothing, so, can you give us a status?
Excuse me, Frank, this is Fred. I'm going to close the public line at this point, seeing no other comments from the public, okay?
Okay, go ahead, Fred, thank you.
Yes.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Okay, so John, I'll go back to Board of Adjustment. So you said you wanted to bring that up again tonight, even though we haven't had any action from the Township Committee?
Yes, I wanted to bring it up tonight, so it's on record that we're waiting another month and we haven't heard anything yet. So, can you follow up on that?
Okay, so noted. Okay, so the first application we have tonight is the park site at Mountain View. Okay, so basically at the last meeting, we finished the public hearing, and we're going to be ready for the board discussion. But Patrick, would you just reintroduce that for the last time for us, please?
Yes, it's Patrick speaking. If you recall, at the end of the last meeting, we only had 5 eligible members that could vote. Since that time, Mr. Valchak and Mr. Wilmacher have listened to the audio, and we have confirmed affidavits from them that they've listened to the audio, and now there's 7 members that can vote on this matter.
Okay, good. So I'm going to open it for board discussion. Anybody want to start the discussion?
It's John. I think we discussed it to length at the last meeting and we were ready to vote, but the applicant wanted to wait, so I don't have anything.
Okay, does anybody else have any points to mention?
No, I just thought that their planner did an excellent presentation for the positive and negative points for a use variance. So I would make a motion to approve that application.
Go ahead.
John Stamler, I second.
Okay, so approve it as is or with any conditions or just as is?
No, as is.
No, right. Okay.
Mark Anderson, Mr. Chairman, I note a couple of things in my notes that the board might want to consider as conditions. One is there was a representation that the plantings will be maintained in a manner that will not block the sign, and perhaps more significantly from a municipal standpoint, that there will be no intrusion into the site triangle.
Okay.
Yes, I think those were, well presented during their presentation, so we can definitely, include them in the resolution.
Yes, I believe they intended to, but I think it's appropriate that they be included as conditions.
I include that in my motion.
And I
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
John Stanley seconded.
I'm sorry, Mark, one question, please. Since we're just going for a vote, do we have to open anything up to the public at the moment or no?
No, this is strictly deliberation of the board, and then it's a vote.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did public and everything at the last meeting. Okay, the vote please. Tina, would you take the roll call?
Yes. Mr. Valchek?
Yes.
Ms. Erickson? Yes. Mr. Stamler?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Wallmacher?
Yes.
And Chairman Herbert?
Yes. Thank goodness.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so the next one is the NJ K9 IPPO. Is that team in line by this point?
Roosevelt Dona, attorney for applicant present, with team.
Okay. Good, okay. So, Patrick, why don't you introduce that again?
Sure. The next application on for this evening is IPPOS New Jersey Property Management, otherwise known as K9 Resorts. File number BA 19-14, located at Block 58, Lot 1.01, also known as 63, Route 206. The applicant is seeking a preliminary and final major site plan approval, D use variance, and C bulk variances and waivers to renovate and expand the existing building for use as a adult care facility that will include a separate veterinarian office and shared access and stormwater management facilities with Lot .102. Property is in the I-30 light industrial zone. Time of decision is 6/30/2020. This was carried originally from our March 4th, 2020 agenda with renotice. I can certify that there was a renotice.
Great. Okay, and I might add that we almost got this in at a special meeting in March 25th, but then other things took over, so here we are tonight. I think today is Groundhog Day number 79 by my count. Okay, Mr. Donat, I'll hand the floor over to you then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board and municipal staff, good evening. I hope everyone is well and healthy during these uncertain times. As Mr. Gorman has outlined for us, applicant IPPOS NJ Property Management LLC is before this board for preliminary and final site plan approval for a proposed dog daycare and resort facility with veterinary clinic, seeking a number of C and B variances. Tonight, we have a number of members of our professional team prepared to testify as to certain aspects of this application. The first witness I would like to call up to be qualified is Mr. Tim Cash from K9 Resorts, the franchise. Mr. Chairman, how would you like to handle qualification swearing in?
I'm sorry, repeat that please.
How would you like to handle qualifying witnesses as they're called up?
Okay, I'm gonna pass this to Mark since, he's not a professional, right? He's the executive there. So Mark, how do we qualify, the applicant basically?
Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Janot's question may go beyond the current witness, but as to the current witness, it's my understanding he is not testifying as an expert. So, of course, he needs to be sworn, but he does not need to be qualified. When we get to expert witnesses that need to be qualified, perhaps we can take up that issue at that point.
Right, okay. So, Tina, would you swear the witness in, please?
Yes. Mr. Cash, can you please raise your right hand? Is it raised?
Yes.
You solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear.
Okay, Mr. Cash, just for the record, I have your information here, but for the record, can you please state and spell your last name?
Yes, it's Timothy Cash,
That's KATSCH, Kilo Alpha Tango Silo Charlie Hotel.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, excellent. So my name is Tim Katz. I'm the VP of Operations for Canine Resorts. We're actually a franchise system that's based out of New Jersey in Fanwood, New Jersey. I've been with the Canine brand for about 3 years now, and the intention of this is just to talk a little bit about our brand, the services we provide to the community, and ultimately a little bit about the materials and design that goes into our facility, and that directly ties into the operation, with the intention of giving everybody on the board a clear picture of what a canine resort is in its functionality. So just to start off a little bit, I am going to be referencing a document, and it's called the Brand and Operations Presentation. I don't know if there's any physical marking or anything that we do on a telephonic call, or I can just refer to it as that document.
That was one of the documents that was up on the website, right?
Yes, it is.
That is correct.
In that case, go ahead, Mark.
I do think it's appropriate that we, for the record, indicate which documents are marked which way, although we can't physically mark them at the moment. So, again, the witness has identified the document. Mr. Janot, has the applicant marked exhibits before? I don't see them in my notes.
At our last meeting, these exhibits were marked. No, Mr. Cash has not marked his exhibits. This report is going to be the executive overview, Canine Resorts executive overview. That's transmitted to Board Secretary Hewitt.
That should go for the record, and that will be A1.
Yep, and that will be, just for the record, on the website, it's called the Brand and Operations Presentation. That's the document I'm referencing for visual.
Mark, it's Patrick here in the office. If you recall, we did take some exhibits as part of the March 4th meeting. I am currently up to Exhibit A3, so this should be Exhibit A4.
Mr. Gorman, thank you. As I look back at my minutes, you're absolutely correct. So I stand corrected. This is not A1, it is A4.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to proceed. So we're looking at Exhibit A4, document Brand and Operations Presentation, just for the public and for the board to be able to visually reference. So a little bit about our brand. We've been in the healthcare industry for about...
Yeah. Let me just stop you. Somebody has to put their phone on mute. You get a lot of background noise on somebody's phone, please. Sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Cash, this is Tina. I'm the court reporter. I don't know if you know, but I am actually taking down everything you say stenographically. And being on the phone is very difficult. There's sort of like a delay. I don't know how to explain it. So if you could just slow down and enunciate, it would make my job a lot easier, which is really what everybody wants. They want to make my job easier. So... they love me. So
I understand.
You're kind of fast, so I appreciate it.
Tina, do you want a test real quick?
What?
Do you want a quick test?
I can't hear you.
Do you want a test?
A test?
Yes. Do you want to... Yeah, continue, please.
Yeah, continue, Mr. Cash, with that in mind.
Okay. And I apologize for the quick speech, but I'll certainly back it down and make it appropriate, so I apologize. So,
okay, I will add, Mr. Frank, that your A4 is up on the township website, so it's there for the public to view as you're talking. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, background about the brand. We started 20 years ago in the pet care space, particularly in the dog walking industry. 15 years ago, the brand opened their first resort in Fanwood, New Jersey, which was in 2005. Since then, we've opened 7 locations that are currently open in New Jersey and 4 that are in other parts of the country, such as the Carolinas and Pennsylvania. We have about 40 other ones in development, similar to this project, in communities across the country as well.
This is Chicky. Please slow down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In referencing my document, I'm going to be referencing page 1 now, which is the purpose. Our purpose of the brand is everything that we do, every decision that we make, and this is important to set the foundation for dog daycare. Our purpose is to provide a home away from home for dogs, where dogs love to stay and play, and customers know they're cared for on a 5-star level. So everything that we do, everything that we say, is to gear on this purpose. And what's important to iterate about that is what we're providing as a service to the community members. So community members are going to go on vacation, they're going to take business trips, and we want a place for them to come as a second home so that their parents, their pet parents, may think about their dogs, but they'll never have to worry about them. And we keep that love to stay and play as a focus of our brand. So we do not do grooming, we do not do hair trimming, we do not cut nails, we do not administer medications, do injections, or anything of that nature. We focus on 2 core services, which I'll discuss briefly in the coming sections. We don't do retail, and we don't do any other services tied to dogs in regards to training or anything like that. The 2 core services we provide are luxury boarding and dog daycare. And then we have one auxiliary service that ties into both of those, which is bathing. Okay, I'm moving on to slide 2 now of Exhibit A4, and that talks about the dog's journey, and I won't bore you with the details, but I'd like to set the foundation of why this concept exists nowadays when it did not exist perhaps 40 years ago. Dogs, historically, started out as working animals. They herded sheep, they herded cattle. That was their purpose in life at that time. As time went on, they became a little bit more utilitarian in suburban and urban market areas. And then eventually, we brought them into our homes, and they became pets. So similar to a gecko or a cat or a rabbit, they bring us joy, they make us smile, our children take care of them. It's a great thing to have in your household. But dogs over the past 10 to 15 years have managed to transcend that. So whether you're 8 years old or you're 80 years old, you love hearing stories about dogs. You love asking about them when you're on the phone. They become the hub of the household where everybody can conglomerate around the dog that lives within your household. We take photos with them in our family photos. We dress them in clothes. And we have birthday parties for them. 40 years ago, if you said, when is your dog's birthday, people would look at you like you're crazy. Nowadays, it's a social norm to know when your dog's birthday is, and you might even go out and buy them a birthday cake at a dog bakery. So these are all things that have really graduated our lens that we look at dogs to become family members. And because they're family members, we're able to offer the services that we now offer. So I'm moving now on to, and this might help with visual references to the slide that's entitled 3 of the document, Exhibit 4. So this is the first service that we provide. It's luxury boarding. Luxury boarding is a place for dogs to go, like a hotel, where they have overnight stays. It's a low-stress, high-enjoyment getaway for the dogs, just as when their owners are away on vacation themselves. Within our facilities, we have 3 levels of accommodations, and those will be depicted in RHJ's testimony in regards to the floor plan. RHJ is the architect for the brand, and there's 3 levels of accommodations that I'll discuss briefly in a second. All of our accommodations feature luxury bedding within them. An example is in that photo on slide 3. All of our pricing model includes the feeding of our food, which is the Blue Buffalo GI tract formula. And everything that we do is for the customers' enjoyment, essentially, there. So it's best for the dog in terms of the transition of them from their homes into our facility. But we can customize, for example, if a dog is on a private or special diet or they need natural foods, we can certainly do that within our environment and feed it to the dog. All dogs within our inclusive environment of boarding also have their choice of group play, which is playing in the daycare environment, or personal play times, which is a one-on-one interaction with our staff. So the important mention is there that all dogs that come into our facility do need to be 100% people-friendly, but they don't have to play with other dogs to come into one of our facilities. They can do one-on-one playtime. Important notes in regards to luxury boarding: the average overnight stay is about 3 to 7 nights. So we're finding our customers are going on business trips for 3 or 4 nights. We're finding that they're taking extended weekends for 3 or 4 nights, and particularly during peak seasons like the holidays and during the summer season, they're staying for 6 or 7 nights. And that ties kind of into the traffic flow of our facilities as well. Okay, so So now I'm going to move on to slide 4 just to give you an example, and so you can visualize what Luca's resort might look like in terms of those accommodations, and all of our facilities are fairly similar in that light. So we have 3 tiers of accommodation. The first is compartment style unit. Those are more traditional in nature and the right fit for the right client. So if my brother, for example, has a Chihuahua, he sleeps in a crate at night. If he would come to one of our facilities, he would like to continue that within the stay at our resort. Another great fit would be our double compartments, which are twice the size but still similar style. And that would be great for, let's say, a lab puppy who's crate training at home, and the owner wants to continue that training. Our next accommodation is the executive room. This is what we specialize in as a brand. They're cage-free accommodations. These are 4x6 to 5x7 in size. They vary based on the floor plans of the facility. And they're open-air environments, but fully enclosed for those individual dogs that are staying in there. You can see the veranda bed that's featured within those rooms. It has privacy in the front, so when the dogs are sleeping, there's no visual triggers for other dogs within the facility. And the walls and the flooring are of non-porous material, and that's important to our brand as well. And the last accommodation we offer is luxury suites. Luxury suites are the biggest accommodations. They're 7x7 to 8x8 in size. And they are great for dogs maybe that are not doing daycare during the day, and are doing the one-on-one playtimes with our staff because it's a larger room. They have televisions in the rooms for ambient sound, and they feature the same veranda bedding, and they're a little bit bigger in size for more comfortability for dogs that are not doing our daycare. So I'm going to move on now to the second service that we provide as a brand, and that's on slide 5 of Exhibit A4. And that's dog daycare. So the community now are demanding more services than they previously were demanding from dog-based businesses in the past, because we're looking at dogs now through a lens of dogs or family members. And when we realize dogs are family members, we realize that dogs can get lonely if they're alone for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Socialization now within communities is extremely important as we go to retail environments where they have water bowls outside their stores. And we go to restaurants where dogs are actually allowed to come into restaurants nowadays. The socialization of your own dog with other dogs and people is very important. Other things that are important when we look at dogs through the lens of family members is they can make friends, and they do within our daycare environment. And they play with dogs of similar style, similar weight, of similar energy levels, and it's an enjoyable environment for them. And then last, a lot of veterinarians are actually prescribing dog daycare as a method for weight loss or to stay in shape. So more senior dogs are staying active, and maybe dogs that happen to be 4 or 5 pounds overweight have the ability to expel more energy than they traditionally do. A couple notes, and this addresses questions that we've gotten in the past, is that dogs staying overnight may participate in daycare. So a dog that's staying in an executive room, for example, might choose to do daycare during the day and then go back to their accommodation for the evening. Also, in the reverse pattern, let's say we had a daycare customer and the owner was in Manhattan and they could not get back in time to pick their dog up from daycare, we can easily transition that dog to an overnight accommodation if the family needed that. Moving on to slide 6 now, just to wrap up the details about the dog daycare system. So we typically have 2 play groups within any facility, that being small dogs and large dogs. Our differentiator is right at 30 pounds based on our research and the dog behaviors that we've dealt with within our brand. So those individual groups will be separated into different rooms and also have different outdoor areas for themselves. Every dog that comes into the daycare system does go through an evaluation process. So that dog will be introduced to each dog within that play group and make sure we're matching up to be the right fit for the group. So not all dogs may pass. Some dogs might not pass the evaluation process, in which case they would go on one-on-one playtimes with our team. So I am hearing a phone sound in the background. I don't know if everybody else is.
I hear that too, but he's speaking over it, so it's not interrupting you.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. All right, and then next is staffing. So within our operations, every one of our daycares has a team member in there. Sometimes one, if it's a small group, sometimes two or three, if it's a larger group. And these pet care technicians are with the dogs throughout the entire time in daycare. If they're outside with them. If they're inside with them, and they're managing that play group and play style. Okay, so then we'll move on to slide 7, and this will just be brief, is I mentioned personal playtime. So for dogs that come into our facilities that do not go into the daycare system, our team members will go into their accommodations throughout the day, bring them outside so they can play fetch, if they like their stomachs rubbed, they can rub their stomachs. Some dogs just like the fresh air or the sun on them. And we have these interactions with those dogs throughout the entire day. And that would be indicated in our third outdoor area within our facilities. So we have one dedicated to personal playtime dogs. There's only one dog out there at a time. And then we have one dedicated to small daycare and one in large. And that would be articulated within the site plan itself.
And that would be articulated what?
So I believe it should be depicted on the site plan or one of the documents we've submitted in terms of those outdoor areas and the bifurcation of those and the separation. Okay. So we talked
Hey, Tim, this is Mike. That's on the architectural plan, and I'll testify to that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So I've misspoken. It will be on the architectural plan that Mike Pilko from RHJ will be referencing. Okay, so the third service that we provide, which is an auxiliary service, is bathing. So we believe that it's one of the founding principles that every dog that stays at our facility for a night stay should leave smelling fresh and clean. So every dog that leaves our facility after staying overnight will get a bath. Also, we do provide that as a service to our daycare customers if needed. We do not offer baths to customers that walk directly off the street. So they only get baths if they're customers of ours. Okay, so I'm moving into another section, which we are calling materials and designs, just to talk a little bit about what might differentiate us from a traditional model of what you may think a kennel is within your mind. So I'm looking at slide 9 now of exhibit A4, and that's materials and designs. So we invest heavily within the HVAC systems of our facility. One of the things that we do is UV lighting systems that actually will help sanitize the air within our facility. So we do this through 2 methods, dependent on the facility layout, through upper air systems depicted on the top right, and through in-duct UV light systems depicted towards the left of the screen. Other things that we do within our HVAC systems is have multiple units within the building and multiple zones. So the air that's in the lobby is not the same air that's shared with the daycare, which is not the same air that's shared with the executive room. And this philosophy goes throughout the facility because it keeps the happiness and health of the dogs in mind within the facility. Okay, I'm moving on to slide 10 now of the same document, materials and designs as well. We choose non-porcelain tiles throughout our facility. So all the wall in the human areas or within the dog areas is going to be of a tile or FLP material, which is non-porous. This way, it's easy to sanitize, easy to clean, and once again, provides that happy and healthy environment for the dog. Slide 11, we talked about the floor. So in all the boarding accommodations, the overnight stay accommodations, and in the daycare areas, we have an epoxy-style floor, which we also make a significant investment in because it's easy to clean and easy to sanitize. There's no crevices or cuts or anything for anything to live or grow within. Everything is sanitized immediately within those facilities. Moving on to 12, within our facility we utilize a canine grass system in the outdoor areas of our facility. So dogs will go outside and they will have the opportunity to go to the bathroom if needed on the canine grass system. The canine grass system is better than the alternatives that exist, whether it be gravel or pebbles, solid surfaces, or even regular grass. And that's because it's a synthetic system, but it acts and it percolates the same as grass would in your own backyard. So the synthetic material enables us to sanitize on a daily basis within our facility. It's a short blade allowing us to pick up solid waste immediately and quickly, and it's a very happy and healthy environment for the dogs within our facilities. Slide 13 really just provides a cut sheet on what that looks like so you can have a visual. Once again, it percolates the same as grass wood in your own backyard. Other things within our materials and selections, this is slide 14, is fencing. We choose fencing because of the fence height. This way dogs cannot jump over the fence, and other creatures, such as deer or anything like that, cannot jump into the play area. We choose our style of fencing because there's no slats where you can visually see outside. This way there's no visual triggers for the dogs. So they can't see a squirrel or a rabbit running by. So there's strategic design, even in the material of fencing that we utilize within our system. Moving on to 15, we really try and think of everything within our brand. So even our ceiling tiles, our acoustic ceiling tiles, meant to absorb sound and absorb echoes, so that's easy on the dog's hearings within those facilities. Even the wall art that we choose to have throughout our entire facility absorb 95% of echoes and the noises within those environments. And then even the layout that Mike Pilko from RHJ will talk about is how we segment things. So this is not an exact depiction of Luca's facility, the one we're discussing today. This is a generic picture within our slide deck, but the concept still rings true. We have executive rooms, suite 1, which is separate from executive room suite 2, which is separate from the compartment style units. This way, each individual group of dogs is not impeding on the other space, and it creates a quieter and more relaxing environment for the dogs themselves. I'm now going to move on to a couple of the operational items that are important to the system as well. So we're on 16 and transitioning into 17. On 16, you can see an example of an outdoor play area for the dogs, where there's actually 2 pet care technicians watching those dogs throughout their group play interaction. So, slide 17, this talks about our training, which we're very proud of within our system. Everybody that enters into the K9 brand, new employees to franchise owners, go through the foundation level training to learn about everything they need. I won't bore you with the details there. And then every individual will have specializations within those facilities, whether it be bathing, sanitation, daycare, or front desk related customer service field items. And then we provide in-depth management training to all senior level management team levels of those facilities. Tying into operations, and you can't bring it up all, but we have basically a detailed checklist or some type of implication within our operation to document and track everything within that facility. So whether it be 15-minute increments of all the action items that we go through, or whether it's a check-in and check-out sheet for each dog that enters our facility, all the way to the cleaning plans that we have of what to clean, when to clean, how we clean it, and what the solution-dilution ratio is, to all the way to the contact time of that solution. Everything is pre-baked out, and that's one of the benefits of joining a brand that believes in dogs so heavily in the happiness and health of them. Next thing that ties into operations, and this is a question that we've gotten from some towns, is information is important. So we have an in-depth point-of-sale system where we can capture customer information, vaccination dates for the vaccinations that we require. We can capture what they're eating, how much are they eating, if they're getting any type of oral or topical medication, what quantity did they historically eat during their stay, and document any notes that we can be transparent with the owners about in regards to their eating habits. We have veterinary contact information for each dog, and we have detailed information about operations, such as which play group they belong to, or perhaps their own personal play time, clearly indicated by, in this example, a green flag for large daycare. Other things tying into operations of our brand is the cleanliness of the facilities and how we go about cleaning them. So we have distinct protocols, some for daily cleanings for dogs that are with us for extended stays, all the way to complete disinfecting once dogs check out of our facility, and different things to implement a deliverable result. So for example, and this is hard to see, but the first of the images along the bottom right to the left side is a mixing station. So all of our facilities will mix the correct solution with the correct amount of water. This way you get the exact dilution ratio that we need to create a happy and healthy environment for the dog. Within those outdoor areas, we foam the outdoor areas on a daily basis to completely sanitize. Any solid waste that gets placed into those outdoor areas by the dogs is immediately picked up. It's bagged in an odor-proof bag. It's then put into another bag within that segment of the facility outdoors, and then eventually put into a contract treat bag that goes into the dumpster system that's intermittently distributed each week within those facilities. Other things that tie into operations, and we can discuss anyone that, if we have particular questions, but we have complete surveillance systems, complete security systems, sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems. We even contract with local pest control to make sure we're using pet-safe products, but to keep bugs outside of the facility. We have local veterinary partners, one that will be attached directly to our building in this case, and local animal care partners should we ever encounter perhaps a dog that isn't the right fit for the facility and needs to be transported to the owner or something like that. Vaccination requirements, we do require rabies, distemper, bordetella, and canine influenza within our facility. This is recommendations based on local veterinary partners and great brands such as AHA and the IBPSA, which is the International Boarding and Pet Services Association. A couple other things that will tie into traffic flow within our facilities and to give you a mindset of what customer interaction looks like is timeliness. Timeliness is very important to our customers. They lead busy lives, and we want to be able to create accurate but quick services within our facility. All guests are pre-registered, so that implies that all their information for themselves and their dogs and their veterinarian is entered into our system before they enter our facility. This is via a phone, a conference with those individuals. Daycare check-in typically takes about 30 seconds. Owners are coming to the door, they're walking up to the counter, handing their leash to one of our pet care technicians who will bring them to their daycare group or to their accommodation. Everything else is already documented within the system. Same thing for boarding check-in. Takes a little bit longer, about 3 minutes that we're trying to keep it under, just because we're exchanging food if needed, we're exchanging dietary changes within the system, and any medication that they might have. This leads us into our operations of hours. So moving on to slide 23 for a reference. We want to keep traffic flow fluid within our environments. We don't want bottlenecks within the lobby of our facilities, so we strategically design our hours to accommodate for smooth transitions. From 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock during the weekdays, those hours are dedicated to daycare customers. So only daycare customers can drop off their dogs at those times. 9 o'clock, we begin to open up for boarding check-in, which is overnight stays and check-out, and that's from 9 to 5:30. And then daycare customer pickup is dedicated hours once again from 5:30 to 7 for everybody picking up their dogs, typically after their work days. Saturday, we typically tend to find that there's not a lot of daycare customers on the weekend, but we do offer the service for the community members that do need them for their own reasons. But we'll typically see about 20 to 25% of our weekday occupancy on the weekend. Okay. Almost at the end here, we're on slide 24, talking about the employee model. It's a great question that we often get is what does the employee model look like within our facility? When a facility first opens, we have about 5 team members within the building at any given time, 2 typically at the front desk, 1 in each daycare, and then 1 going throughout the facility in terms of our cleaning protocols. As we grow, or as we encounter more of a peak season within our facilities, we'll increase the level that we operate in. So let's say we're in a year where it's a mature resort, and it's right before the Christmas season, we have or the holiday season, we have a lot of rush into our facilities, and we might have 10 team members at maximum capacity within our facilities servicing our customers and the dogs within our facilities. But typically we're operating in that level 1 to level 3 range within our resort. Okay, next, and this addresses just discussions about what class of vehicles are actually entering our style of facility. So weekly, we look at orders of office products from Staples, some tools from Amazon, our shampoo from Lenapi, and other things of that nature on a weekly basis. Typically, standard FedEx-sized packages as depicted in the image under weekly in slide 25. On a bi-weekly basis, the largest product that we do get is our bagged food for the dogs and 5-gallon containers of the cleaning solutions that we utilize. So all these products are delivered either in cargo vans, step vans, walk-in vans, or at the biggest, a box truck, typically extending to between Class 1 and Class 3. There are no tractor trailers or anything close to that size that is needed to enter our facility. And then last is seasonality, and this is just for a reference point. And within our facilities, there's a very natural balancing level. So if we look at January through March, for example, that's our off-peak season, and that's when a lot of people are at work. They're living their daily lives, in a sense, and they need our daycare services at maximum capacity. Typically, people aren't traveling for vacation during this time, so boarding is a little bit lower. But as we enter the summer season, May to August, in that range, we see our overnight stays pick up and our daycare levels drop. And it kind of balances itself out in many ways, so there's not a distinct discrepancy between the number of dogs within the facility at any given time. Okay, so that concludes the discussion points that I had in regards to operations for Canine Resorts. Roosevelt, I'll direct it over to you for the next action item. That's questions.
Thank you, Tim. Mr. Chairman, to the extent the board had questions, would you like to address them now for Tim?
Yes, I would. Matter of fact, before I go to the board for questions, I would ask Mr. Anderson if he has any input or questions first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not at this time.
Okay. At this point then, and I might say before I open up one other thing, I'm going through, as you were talking, I was going through the engineering report, and I see that maybe 2, maybe 3 issues in that may sort of get back to you, and even though they're traffic engineer related, they sort of operation related too. Okay, so having said that, I'll open it up to the board. Questions for the witness, please.
It's John Stamler. I have a few questions. The dog waste. I know it's tagged and distributed. Where does it eventually end up?
Excuse me.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the dog waste is treated similar to any other waste. So if we were households, we'd still be throwing our waste in the garbage. And if we have baby diapers, for example, we'd be throwing them in the garbage. It goes into a dumpster and would be placed the same way any other residential waste would be placed. There is no particular segmentation or particular laws that are governing the disposal of this particular waste in regards to dogs.
Oh, okay. So it's just like a regular household.
There's 2 people speaking here. Go ahead, John.
James, how is urine handled?
Who asked that question?
Chicky James.
Okay. So urine would have essentially 2 tops. I apologize for cutting you off. I believe I heard your question. Urine is essentially handled in 2 ways. One is it's in the interior of the facility. It would be on a solid surface that's non-porous, and the protocol is to mop that up immediately within those facilities. So if a dog was to happen to urinate within the daycare environment, we do have mop buckets nearby that would be brought in to mop up that waste once the dogs are moved from that area. And that goes into the slop sink within our particular facilities. The liquid waste outside acts the same as the grass would in your own backyard. It percolates into the soil, and it's a natural kind of distribution filtering where it's a cycle of rainwater and other things that go into the dirt and actually filters into the dirt and ultimately the earth itself.
All right.
And this is the system that we do have. Sorry.
It's John Stamler again, just to continue on with my question. So there is no regulations on a doggy care center where there's a big concentration of daily dog waste to distribute that any other way than just to throw it in the dumpster and get it picked up, correct?
Correct. In all of our facilities, the 11 that we have open do operate on the same canine grass system and the same protocols in terms of the waste removal through the dumpster system.
All right, thank you. And another question, with the COVID-19 and all, I noticed the front desk doesn't have windows. I'm assuming that's going to be window treated, so there's no chance of spreading the COVID-19 or any other type of virus that's out there.
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. So right now we're operating within our resorts at our phase 1. Phase 1 is curbside pickup right now. So no customers are actively entering our facility. We're meeting them at the door or at their vehicles to come into the facility. Phase 2 would be once, I think, a couple of restrictions on a local level backs up a little bit, in which case customers would then be allowed to enter. And what you've indicated is our plan of action to have some type of barrier and also obviously distancing method within the lobby area to facilitate that.
Okay, great, thank you. And my last one, I noticed in all the slides that was presented, I didn't see any toys. Are they allowed? I don't see one toy.
So it depends on the toy itself. Hard bones, hard, more plastic style materials, those are all allowed in that facility. We do not provide them, but
those are what?
Provide them with.
Okay,
They're not allowed or they are allowed in your facility? The bones.
So within our system, we do allow hard bones and non-porous toys within our facility. We do allow. We do not allow porous toys. So let's say a rope, for example, we don't allow within our facilities because it can absorb anything from a household or urine or things like that. And also we don't allow materials that can be easily broken apart within the accommodations as well. So typically hard plastic style or natural bones are allowed within there, or any other style toys such as a hard frisbee, something that can absorb liquid.
Okay, and it's John with his last question. When you mentioned the employee model, you mentioned with level 4, which is worst case scenario, the total number of employees you'll have on site at one time would be a maximum of 10?
That's correct. So typically at that period of time, sorry? Was there another half of the question? Or no?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yes, it would be 10, typically about 4 team members up front and 6 in the back of house. Obviously that could trade off depending on the operations of that day, but we'll typically be at full capacity. We'll have multiple dogs in each daycare environment, and we'll also need extra staff to be able to care for the dogs in terms of feeding and cleaning their accommodations throughout the day. So that's why that 10 number is our maximum.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, that's all I have, because I know Chicky Haynes will address the issue with the parking and the number of employees and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, having said that, this is Frank. I'm going to hand it off to Chicky then, because I know that she had questions for the traffic engineer and the civil engineer about those things.
Okay,
so,
I just
Chicky.
have one more for this witness, and that is, in addition to the maximum of 4 up front and 6 in the back, would there be a manager or administrator in a front office there at that time?
So that would be included in that 10 count. So one of the team members up front would be the general manager. The general manager has an office that's particularly placed directly connected to the lobby area. So they could be handling some administrative duties at points during the day. But if should traffic ever pick up within the lobby, or they're called to the back to, assist with some type of project, they can easily flow throughout the facility and provide that support. So they will make up one of those 10 team members. And we do have a brand standard that a management team member needs to be in the building throughout the entire day within our facilities.
And one other, related question, that these 10 employees, their parking spaces are included within the 32 that are shown on the site plan?
That is correct. They would be consuming some of those spaces. I'll hold off to give any more traffic-related questions, but I can give examples of our existing facilities if you'd like.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Chicky, did you have any questions about the drop-off time with each dog? I think that came up with the traffic engineer.
Yeah, my only concern is, in the morning, if you could explain, particularly you would have 4 people that would be there, ready to take the dog's leash when the officers come in, and those people, would they be dropping it off with their cars right in the front there, kind of stacking up, or would they be expected to go into a spot and bring their dog over, or either or of those things?
Yeah, so in the short term, we would be going to their vehicle. In the long term, our general operating strategy is they will park in a space and they will come into the facility and then return to their cars. Their interaction with us, particularly for daycare, is simply walking into the facility and handing one of our pet care technicians the leash. We automatically check them in. We automatically register that day of daycare within their daycare booklet. There's no transaction to be had, and all guests that are entering our facility between those hours of 7 and 9 are pre-registered as well, just for traffic flow reasons.
Okay, so the 2-minute drop-off is really bringing them into the building and dropping them off. It does not include their exiting in their cars from the parking lot itself.
Yeah, so a typical daycare customer, the transaction time, really about 30 seconds in terms of their interaction with us, them leaving their car, entering the door, and going back to their car. How long they spend in the parking lot, per se, I can't personally testify to in a ton of detail, but their interaction time with the brand is very minimal, and typically they're pulling out right away to head to their job for the day or whatever special events they have within their personal life.
One other quick question. You said that for the daycare people, that they only pick up between 5:30 and 7. What if somebody gets off of work at 4 and wants to pick up their dog at 4?
So, great question. So within our operating strategy, we find that most people are dropping off between 7 and 9 and picking up after 5 p.m. So that's why we have those hours dedicated to daycare customers, because that accounts for the majority. But certainly if you need to drop off at 12 o'clock, let's say you have somebody coming to service something within your house and you need to pick them up at 4 o'clock, that's certainly allowed. But typically that's sporadic throughout that time period between 9 and 5:30 actually. But it is allowed.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions from board members? Okay, hearing none. Patrick, do you have any questions?
Just to update, the board, the applicant has been before the Hillsborough Board of Health and received their approval. And part of that approval was their sanitation management guide, which that board has saw. If Roosevelt or the applicant can confirm.
Roosevelt Donar speaking. Yes, Mr. Borman, that is correct. This applicant has been before the Environmental Commission as well as the Health Board, and we have successfully satisfied all of their requirements.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, any questions for you? I'm looking at Bob's report, and I'm thinking specifically B6 may be one for him from the engineering report, and the other one would be C6. Okay, Tom.
So B6 is related to parking for the facility. I believe their traffic engineer will get into that a little bit more, but from an operations standpoint, we would be interested to hear your take on it as well, because the township doesn't have specific parking requirements for a facility like this, as you indicated there. up and coming, a little bit newer over the last few years, so we don't have specific requirements. In your opinion, based on other similar sites throughout the state, how much parking would be required for a facility like this, and is there adequate parking as proposed?
Yeah, my personal belief is that there's definitely adequate parking for this particular site, and I don't base that just on opinion. I base it on what I've seen historically with standalone facilities and their parking sizes, for example. So Fanwood, New Jersey, that location has been around for 15 years now. It has 18 parking spaces, 7 in the front, which are the ones that are dedicated to the customers, with 1 handicap space additional as well, dedicated to the customers. And that is 18 total locations for that facility. And that facility is our most prominent facility in terms of the capacity of the number of total gross sales within that facility. So easily the busiest facility within our system. And it has similar number of accommodations to this particular site. And they are even during peak season, during the holiday rush, at maturity, which means the facility is completely booked up. We haven't run into any operational challenges within our parking lot, period. Other facilities, such as Madison, New Jersey, they have 19 parking spaces. Horsham, Pennsylvania, they have 15, albeit a little bit smaller in size, that facility. Hamilton, New Jersey, standalone location, roughly 7,400 square feet. They have a total of 17 parking spaces. Apex, North Carolina, another standalone facility, 8,500 square feet. They have 10 dedicated parking spaces with about 4 or 5 that are opportunistic on street level for that facility. And historically, we've never run into any challenges with parking. Sorry.
Hi, it's John Stanlow. The question: do those other facilities have a vet attached to them?
So the other facilities have not had the opportunity to have a vet attached to them. We will work with one to.
Okay, so my question is this: you're giving us numbers of places that are not associated with a vet attached. With this particular facility, there is a vet attached. So, how many dedicated customer parking spaces do you have for this site? Dedicated for the customer.
So we have, to my knowledge, and Roosevelt can certainly chime in with other professional details, but we have about 20 parking spaces dedicated to the canine use, which would be the most currently within our franchise system for standalone.
I'm sorry, how many did you say?
20.
This is tricky. I'm following up on John's. We have on the engineer's report that 18 must be dedicated to veterinary practice, and there's 32. You got 10 employees. You've got about 4 for your customers out of those 32 parking places. If you could go back over, you said you have 19 parking places at Madison. How many dogs? What's your capacity for dogs on those? Let's compare apples to apples here.
Yeah, so total capacity is pretty similar. The number of accommodations is a little bit less, but they are allowed to have more daycare dogs within those environments because their daycares are a little bit larger based on the premises of that. So I would say capacity-wise, the number of dogs that would be in the facility.
How many dogs?
Hey, Chicky, it's John. Let's stick with the math first before you go there, please. We mentioned there's 32 proposed slots, 10 employees for the canine. The vet needs 18, and as you stated, Chicky, right, that leaves 4 for the customer. So that's simple math right there. So can we explain where these customer parking spaces are coming from?
This is Tom Neppier. So I have in my notes that I was going to bring up later on as one of the other people testifying that there was some discussion at the last meeting that the number of exam rooms for the veterinary use could be reduced from 3 to 2. if the exam rooms were reduced to only 2, then there would only be 12 spaces required. So I think we need some clarification on that at some point on exactly what is proposed for the veterinary office.
All right, so
This is Roosevelt. This is Attorney Donar speaking. Our architect will get into that revision.
Okay, because with that revision, this is John again. With that revision, that would leave 10 customer dedicated slots with that revision.
Yeah, and based on the traffic engineer's report and their projections from the other canine facilities, they'd indicated that 19 spaces would be required for the canine use. So if you had 19 spaces for canine and 12 required for the vet, that would be 31 required, whereas 32 are proposed. So, we'll hear from the architect hopefully if that is the case.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Anderson, if I could ask for a clarification from Mr. Donat. My notes indicate that there was a commitment at the last meeting to reduce the exam rooms to 2. If that's not the case, I should correct my notes and the board should be aware of it.
So, for the record, Mr. Anderson, you are absolutely correct. We will be moving forward with the reduction in exam rooms.
Okay, we put that one to bed then?
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, Patrick speaking. Just a correction for the record. I was going through the exhibits at the moment, and the one that the representative from K9 just did was actually Exhibit A2. So we do not need that to be labeled A4 at the moment. We already accepted the same document.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got that?
Comment here. I do have one more question from operations standpoint. I'm sure the engineer will get into it also, but regarding the deliveries, you did give some information on the typical deliveries at this site. One of the township's requirements is that a loading space be required, and there is no loading space proposed on this site. So how would you envision handling deliveries? Would you be doing them off-peak hours? How are you going to have trucks coming in and out if it's during the day with resident, or not residents, but customers? I want to make sure that there aren't any parking spaces being blocked, that everyone can get in and out safely throughout the site.
Yeah, so typically this is Tim Katz speaking from K9 Resorts. Our weekly drop-offs are done through similar Amazon trucks and UPS, and those we have challenges scheduling particularly, but generally they're one package that's hand-delivered to the location during their normal routes. When it comes to our other products, the 2 that we've discussed, and the only 2 that are of larger size, which aren't that large in the scope of deliveries, but dog food and the 5-gallon containers of our cleaning solution, those we can schedule in off-peak hours. So typically we're trying to schedule them around lunchtime, in which case they, once again, are still hand-delivered to our facility and then immediately placed within our facility for storage.
Yes, I think that's something that you would have to do for any of the larger vehicles and trucks coming to the site. They would have to be scheduled for off-peak hours, either before customers come or after the pickups, something so they're not there interacting at the same time.
We agree.
Hey, Tom, was that an item on Bob's report? And if it was, which one was it?
That was C6.
Okay. And that one sort of gets back to the truck turning rate template too, which may or may not be required.
Yeah, so I would ask the engineer to provide turning templates just to make sure that box trucks can get through this site easily.
Okay.
It's John Stamler. To go back now to Chickie's comparison to apples, now with the revision and 10 customer parking spaces, compared to what Chickie was saying. Go ahead, Chickie. You wanted to compare to the other site that was being mentioned, right? It's 10 enough.
Okay, Madison, was stated 19, parking places, and I believe that it was stated somewhere that that has the capacity of 90 dogs. Is that correct? Madison,
It would be close to that. In terms of boarding dog capacity overnight, it would be around, 85 to 88 dogs, depending on a given day.
well, what's permitted?
Boarding capacity.
What does the town permit? What's your maximum number there?
So, our total estimated capacity for the entire facility is about 120, and that's of similar capacity for the other sites that I did mention, with the one that I did have to particularly mention of Horsham that is of lower size. The other ones are similar with maybe a 4 to 5% variable.
Okay, Fanwood has a 90 dog capacity, right? That's in the literature someplace, correct?
I cannot testify to that particular one. I would have to pull up the details of what the capacity is there.
And you're saying the Madison one has official approval for 120 dogs?
I do not have records in front of me confirming what an official township or municipality approval is for, so I personally can't testify to that. I'm just testifying on behalf of operations in terms of the knowledge of my layout of the facility and what we've seen there historically through the data within the point of sale system.
But yeah, but you know how many parking places are there. I can't believe you don't know your dog capacity.
So the true dog capacity of the facility is around 120. However, I was not part of the canine brand during any zoning meetings in the facilities opened prior to 2017, so I cannot testify if there's a mandated by the municipality or township in terms of dog capacity.
All right, this is John Stamler again. This is John again. Are we saying that 10 customer parking spaces is sufficient for this site? And you're saying there's going to be a maximum of 120 dogs. And I heard you bringing up other sites with the comparisons, but now we can't compare something that's similar to Hillsborough with dogs and parking spaces. So is there any way or any site that compares to the size of Hillsborough with the number of parking spaces? Because you were bringing up all the parking spaces, and so let's find a site that is similar to Hillsborough and see how many parking spaces you have, because is 10 sufficient for this particular site? And I'm not getting an answer.
I believe 10 is sufficient based on my operational opinion for this site. And my direct correspondence with that is the examples that we have in historically. So Madison, New Jersey, Hamilton, New Jersey. Let's just take Hamilton, New Jersey, for example. Similar size facility, similar capacity in terms of the number of boarding accommodations that are in that facility, and similar size daycares within those facilities to this project that we're talking about now, and they have 18 spots. Madison, once again, I believe if you compare this facility, the Hamilton location, the Madison location, in terms of the actual number of dogs that at max peak season, with maximum capacity of dogs within there, is similar. I do not know the exact numbers within my head right now, within the documentation in front of me from my home office, but they are similar in terms of their capacities, apples to apples.
Okay, John, on that,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, perhaps you could just give some additional information maybe on how the dogs, how quickly they come in. I think the concern is some board members are hearing 120 dogs versus 10 spaces. So how spread out are the customers typically bringing the dogs in and out? How many come at one time? How are you getting 120 people dropping dogs off with 10 spaces? I think that's what we need to hear some additional information on.
Who is that speaking?
Tom Ness, engineer.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. So, with the opinion in mind that the facility and within our documentation from the town that the estimated max dogs within the facility is 120 dogs, we have to break that down. That's not 120 vehicles coming to the facility each day. The average stay for a dog is 3 to 7 nights. So let's just split that down the middle and say 5. So that would imply that not 120 dogs are being dropped off for boarding. It's potentially maybe 20 dogs are being dropped off for boarding any given day. And if that interaction takes 3 minutes, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, it's John Stamler. I wasn't even going there with that, with the drop-offs and all. So I don't even, that's not even a concern of mine. What I wanted to do, you were presenting a comparison of the different sites. So I'm focusing on that. I understand about the drop-offs and dogs coming in and come out. But let's stay with the comparison. You know, you were discussing the comparison to other sites. So, with that said, I'm staying focused on my original question. You mentioned Hamilton and so forth, and you said the number of dogs that they have, and you mentioned the magic number. They have 18 parking spaces, correct?
Correct, sir.
Right. And apples to apples. Hillsborough, you're saying we have 10. So, you got, it's not,
let me clarify. I do apologize for, maybe there's a misrepresentation of information that I'm providing. So, to my knowledge, we have 20 parking spaces dedicated to the canine resort system. Of that, 10 will be for customers and 10 will be for employees at peak season. Obviously, throughout the year, there'll be more available to both because we wouldn't be operating at peak season, but that's worst case scenario. When I'm mentioning numbers of other resorts, such as Fanwood at 18, Madison at 19, Hamilton at 18, that's total as well. So if we look at Fanwood, technically there's only 8 available to the customer base. In Madison, there's 9 available to the customer base. In Hamilton, there's 8 available to the customer base. I don't know if that helps clarify the number comparison.
Yes, that helps. Thank you very much. Right. Okay, good.
Yeah, this is Frank. Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, I have a question. You started to say, okay, you might only have 20 dogs being dropped off for boarding.
Somebody needs to put their phone on mute.
Yeah, you got background noise.
Yeah, I couldn't, okay. How many, you said 20 might be dropped off per day for boarding, but how many are dropped off? You said it was a lot more for just the daycare part. So you've got it, those are the numbers that are going to be, I'm assuming, quite a bit higher. I think, I forget the comparison that you made earlier. So we're not just talking 20 out of 120 possible dogs being dropped off. What's the number, or the likely percentage of your daily drop-offs?
So on daycare, typically we're seeing about 40 to 50 daycare customers that are coming in solely for the day. The remainder of the dogs that are in that daycare environment are boarding with us, and they happen to be doing daycare. So to answer your question, in a day within the facility, the most you're really going to experience is about 40 to 50 dogs that are dropping off for a particular daycare and keep it down. So.
Okay, and
this is Philomena, board member Philomena. I have the question is that when we're talking about the parking spaces and drop-offs and items like that, we don't have a dog capacity number that's definitive. It seems as though the number on this facility, the number of dogs that are going to be permitted in this facility is larger, which would not only have an impact on the parking spaces, but on the services that are provided and everything else. I perceive that the model is not strong enough to support that knowledge without having the total number of dog capacities, because it's going to impact other things than what we've been discussing.
Roosevelt, can you comment on anything that we've provided historically in regards to this project?
I can provide what you have. I can provide what you haven't. I can provide what you haven't provided, and that's this facility is from what you shared with your model, is going to be having more dogs involved in whether it's daycare or overnights or whatever than your other facilities. Is that correct?
So some of our other facilities in the country do have more accommodations. So, for example, Charleston, South Carolina, we're in an area of Mount Pleasant. That facility is slightly larger in size, and they have up to 95 total boarding accommodations in that facility. However, as it ties to parking, I do not have a definitive number because it's not a standalone building, so there is shared parking there.
Okay, I'm just stuck on the number of 120 being a much larger number than some of the other facilities. Doesn't matter to me which location, but I just want to make sure that everything's going from health, safety, parking, and everything else that we're allowing for the concerns that I have as a board member based on the increase of number of dogs.
Yeah, so it's definitely a valid point in terms of size, and we've scaled our model up to 12,000 square feet in Malvern, Pennsylvania, for example, and we're doing different phases of that development. That is approved completely within that market segment. We're currently operating in phase 1 with the intention of moving into phase 2, which would be a fully built-out facility of 12,000 square feet, which would have significantly more accommodations in this project as well. From an operations perspective, we do not see this size within our industry as a challenge. As a matter of fact, we distinctly decided to make our facilities smaller in size than that of a traditional kennel, which could either house between 200 to 300 dogs in a 15 to 20,000 square foot facility.
Okay.
But again, Chicky Haynes, again, you're talking vague numbers, or not talking numbers at all. What's the parking on that facility in South Carolina, which frankly I don't care about what's in South Carolina. I'm concerned about what's right here being proposed. Have you considered reducing the capacity of this facility and adding more parking?
So this particular project is not an outlier to the other projects that we've done within the New Jersey market area. It's of similar size to that of the facilities that I mentioned that have actually less parking dedicated to the customers in this particular site. This is the most parking that we've offered to customers on a standalone site within the New Jersey market area.
Okay, this is Frank. Maybe you can go, you refer to 5 or 6 local facilities before, how many dogs they had and how many parking spots. Maybe you just want to go through that again to show that this is similar.
Yes, certainly. So Fanwood, New Jersey, this is a facility that's been open for 15 years. They have 18 total parking spaces within the facility. 10 of those would be dedicated to potentially employees at maximum capacity, 8 to the public. If we're dividing it in that sense. Madison, New Jersey, is of similar size. When
how many dogs are in the first one?
In the Fanwood,
that's what we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. Is there any testimony about how many numbers of dogs were taken in the Fanwood facility?
Not that I have with me.
I believe
BLACKWELLS has information in regards to the facility.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Anderson, this is something I perhaps should have said at the beginning, but each witness really needs to testify to what he or she knows, not refer to other witnesses. If the answer is, I don't know, the answer is, I don't know. If Mr. Donat believes that something has not been fully answered, I'm sure that he'll ask another witness to address it.
Correct, and thank you, Mr. Anderson. And for the record, we do have with us our traffic and parking consultant who has worked on a number of canine resort facilities and projects throughout the state of New Jersey. She might be better positioned to answer some of these finer points.
Okay, so she can tell us how many parking spots and how many dogs at each facility. Which seems, that's your question. I think that's a concern I hear from Philomena and John and Chicky.
Yes, I just would like clarity on, I just think that part of the equation in us, making decisions on this, that the dog capacity is included in, you know, the parking spaces, the access use of the facility, the outside and the time in and out and all of that. I just want to make sure that the model that we're using is going to be conducive to what we're asking to approve. So that just seems to be important to me, the dog capacity.
Okay. So I think did we cover the in and out time with this witness to your satisfaction?
This is Philomena. I'm fine now with what they've provided so far, and I look forward to hearing more.
Okay.
This is Tim Katz, and I just want to clarify on my end that my testimony is simply stating from an operational perspective, we had a significant amount of parking needed for the operation, and we have never been tapped out of our parking spaces. We've never had anybody waiting without a space available. So we do not, you know, the potential is that Fanwood could operate at even less spaces if needed. So I believe when calculations are done on the tracking report, they're taking into account our true numbers and then depicting a projection of what this facility actually will need at the actual capacity. And that's not my expertise. My expertise is within operations, and I have not seen any operational challenges. And I forecast that we can actually get away with less spaces at Fanwood, which I work next door to every day, and that's my personal vision of what we have experienced operationally.
Good. Well, I guess we'll leave it there then, and wait for have the traffic engineer come back then with those numbers. Okay, any more questions from members of the board or the professionals? At this point, we'll open it up for public questions for this witness. So Fred, if you would open the line.
Waiting to see if there were any other board members, but just before we leave this witness, I want to make sure that we have clarity about the exhibit numbers, particularly since we're doing this audio only. Mr. Gorman said earlier that what has been referred to as A4 is the same as A2. That may be true. I do not have the physical copy that A2 was marked, and Mr. Gorman may have that in front of him. But by my notes, I cannot say that they are identical. If there's any question, even if we have an exhibit that really ends up being marked twice, I would not want any overlap or gap in the exhibit numbers.
Oh, you know something? I'm looking at it right now. I have the original from a March meeting. I have it marked A2.
Mr. Chairman, you believe that is identical to what we just...
Matter of fact, yeah, no, I've been watching, the reason I didn't notice that, because I've been, you know, on the township website, the civic clerk, I've been following it on that. When I look down in the floor where I have the original paper, it says A2. I wrote it down back in March.
Okay, then, again, let's make a clarification on the record. The exhibit that has been referred to is not A4, it's A2. And at this point, we have only 3 marked exhibits, A1, A2, A3.
Okay, is that a question or a statement?
No, it is a statement as I understand it. If somebody believes it's incorrect, I hope they'll speak up.
I don't hear anybody. Okay, are we ready to open to the public questions for this witness?
Yes, sir. I will open it up.
Okay.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
So the public bridge is open. If you have a question for this witness, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Susan Gullifer, Hunt Club Road.
Okay, Susan.
Okay. I didn't know if there was anyone else out there. The first time I've done an audio-only meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. These are all operation questions, I guess. There's no people on site overnight?
So, this is Tim Katz from Canine Resorts. Thank you for your question, Susan. We do not have people within our facilities overnight. We've strategically designed things in place to protect the security and safety of the dog within our facilities. We go by the IBPSA standards in regards to boarding and daycare facilities, and traditionally there is not somebody overnight within those facilities because the benefit of that is not proven within the context of the boarding and daycare industry. So, for example, let's say you had somebody sleeping overnight in the facility, that individual cannot actually go and check on the dogs in the facility. They can't shine lights into the accommodations, check on each dog within the facility. It would wake them up and kind of disturb the sleep cycle of all the dogs within the facility, and they would never sleep. So that's one reason behind that. What we've done to mitigate it is we do have camera systems baked into the facility that can be accessed at any given time. We do have sprinkler systems throughout the facility. God forbid any type of things emerge in that light. We have direct security and direct fire as well within the facility.
Okay, I noticed your camera equipment. Is that only security cameras, or is that also video for the owners?
So those are direct video feeds for the owners as well. So in this particular case, Luca and his management team will have access to those cameras so they can directly monitor the happiness and health of the dogs within the facility. It's not available to the public within our facility.
Okay, I thought I heard you say that you don't do medications, but I may have misunderstood. Most dogs, any private boarding facilities knows in this day and age, you're always going to have a certain number of dogs that are going to be on insulin, they're going to have allergy meds, anxiety medications. Aside from those, is that what you meant when you said no medications, I thought you said?
So that's a great clarifying question, Susan. So essentially, within our brand, we do not do injections. We leave that up to professionally trained individuals within the professional field. What we do for all of our customers is we can do topical, ear drop, eye drop, and any type of oral medications to the dog. And many of the dogs in our care do have typical vitamins or other things that they're utilizing throughout their stay. However, the only thing we do not do in terms of medication is injection. And you brought up a great point. Perhaps some dog does need insulin. We believe as a brand it's more appropriate for them to go to a facility that is 24-hour care that can service those needs of their medical condition.
Okay, so you would not be handling, for example, diabetic dogs that need injections, correct?
We would not for our boarding environment. If those dogs can operate within the daycare environment for the day with us, that's certainly fine, as long as the customer can manage their health of their family members within the daycare environment.
Okay. I was looking at the list of employees on slide number 17. You don't actually have groomers listed there. You have bathing and hair care. So you don't actually have on-site groomers for the dogs that are on-site, a professional groomer.
Correct. So we made the decision to focus only on things that dogs do generally like. So dogs, we want them to be running into our facilities. We don't want them to be putting on the brakes, not wanting to come in. Traditionally, we find that dogs don't like nail trimming, dogs don't like grooming, so we didn't want to incorporate that into our system. Obviously, some dogs don't like baths either, but it's a necessity for the health care of the dogs, so we do not do grooming within our facilities.
Okay, looking at some of your pictures, I noticed you have it looks like a garage door. What was that?
So there's been an evolution in our system, and what you're seeing, that garage door, that's the area that the dogs would then have access to go outside. We've now transitioned that into a double swing door of similar width, just for particular operating protocol, but that is the mechanism so that more than one dog can go outside if needed at a given time for their bathroom break.
Okay, I was trying to look at, I don't know which number it is, how you're set up. Do you have, I'm not sure what page it was. Do you have the old traditional indoor-outdoor runs with guillotine doors, or is that not part of your design?
Yeah, so that's one of the things we wanted to counteract. You know, historically the vision of even myself prior to coming to the brand of a kennel was the guillotine doors that you discussed, that dogs can go from inside to outside 24 hours a day, and they traditionally smell, and all these negative things associated with them. So that's why we incorporated the HVAC system. That's why we incorporated a mandatory bath. That's why we do not have any guillotine-style doors, and dogs cannot go freely outside throughout the day. We're dictating that behavior to create a happy environment for the dogs themselves, and be able to provide one-on-one care with actual physical interaction with the dog.
Okay, somebody on the board brought up disposal of waste. What about disposal from the veterinary business? Medical waste, I guess it would be.
Dr. Maele, this is Attorney Roosevelt Donat speaking. Dr. Maele, are you available to address this query, please?
Oh, that'll be addressed later?
Well, we have our veterinary doctor with us, Mr. Chairman.
Right. I think we want to stick with one witness questioning and,
Okay.
Okay, so that'll come up. The boarding. A lot of dogs that come into board also live with cats, and they often come in together for boarding. You will not be providing anything for cats? I'm sorry, I'm not picking up.
yeah, do we still have Mr. Cash on the line or he dropped off?
I don't know what happened.
Hold on, Susan, you're fine. We're just waiting for the witness.
Okay.
I think he fell asleep with all the questions.
I'm sorry.
Frank, I'm not sure if this is Fred from the court, I'm not sure if you want to see if one of the other, if the attorney for K-9 can speak to that until their other witness returns. I don't know if he...
I don't think we should have the attorney speak for something that the witness is supposed to answer. You're certainly correct, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. It's the first time I got that right.
Do you have the number for Tim?
And Susan, it was John Stamler who made that crack.
Oh, so I know who to blame later. I've never put anyone to sleep yet.
Mr. Chairman, it's Fred from the court. Maybe we could ask the attorney for Tim's number. I don't know if he got disconnected or has just decided to stop, but maybe we could reach him on another line.
So, excuse me, Attorney Roosevelt Donat here. I'm actually in contact with Tim. He's on the line and can hear everyone clearly, so it sounds like it may be a technical issue on the line side.
Sure.
Can we ask him to hang up and redial in?
Yeah, Roosevelt, would it be helpful if you would hang up and redial in?
I will advise him to do that.
Let me suggest maybe a 5-minute break to see if we can correct the technical issues.
Okay, it's 8:39, 8:40. When we come back at 8:45, and everybody, don't hang up. Just put your phones down. Okay, back in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Susan. Well, this is Fred from the court. We're gonna mute the public while we're taking the 5-minute recess, and we'll unmute and come back.
I broke the system, didn't I?
Well, I don't know what happened to Tim. Maybe his phone disconnected, but we hear everybody else fine, so I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Record showed that 8:40, 5-minute recess.
Back, and then Pat start the recording.
All right, so we're back to the public. I'm gonna unmute the lines. And Susan, if you could repeat your last question.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
Okay, my last question, was, a lot of dogs that come in to board come with a cat. They live with a cat. There's not gonna be any accommodation for cats at all there?
Hello, this is Tim Katz from K-9 Resorts. Can the board hear me, just to confirm?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Tina, can you hear him?
And I do want to... Okay.
Go ahead.
I do want to apologize for the technical difficulties. I have been on the line. I believe because we're connected to Roosevelt's Bridge, only Roosevelt could communicate at that point in time. The participants in this bridge, I do not believe were able to communicate with the board, so I do apologize for our technical difficulties.
No problem.
I think to answer your question in regards to feline cats, we do not provide care to cats. We do recognize that some customers have multiple styles of pets within their household, but we do focus only on dogs within our facilities, just to provide an environment where they're only meeting like-kind animals, essentially.
Okay, now I have a question about noise. In your slideshow, you discussed, like your acoustic ceiling tiles and things like that. But you also have an outdoor area there. And you not only have a residential area to the east of your location, but you've also got Campus Drive, which has had a proposal for apartments in there. How about outside noise for local residents?
So we have not had noise as a challenge within the communities that we're in, and we do recognize that dogs can bark and they can communicate with each other in that capacity. But, you know, we have strategic operating protocols to mitigate, if not eliminate that. And for example, if a dog does happen to bark, which could occur, just as a neighbor's dog could bark, the pet care technician would bring them inside, if it was more than a few times in a sense, and bring them back to the inside play group. And then there are dogs, such as Weimaraners as a breed, who are historically nervous style dogs, and they do bark a little bit or get mouthy. Those dogs typically will not pass a daycare evaluation with the group, and typically they'll go into one-on-one play groups with our team members, where traditionally they're not barking in any sense when they're just one-on-one with our team members, and they can be brought in immediately as well. So that's how we mitigate noise from an operational standpoint.
Okay. Okay, I was looking, I know some of the board members have kind of gone over this, but your capacity. I was looking at the D&D report on traffic on page 3 of their report, and it said, the K-9 resorts proposed in Hillsborough will have a boarding capacity for approximately 88 dogs and a daycare capacity for 120 dogs. So, in my mind, I thought you had the capacity for 208 dogs there. But what you're saying is, from what I understand, these 88 and 120 overlap. Correct?
Yeah, that's an excellent point to clarify. You know, the total capacity is really based on the max contingency of what can happen within a resort. So there's 120 daycare spaces. Realistically, we're never having 120 dogs in daycare, but that's how we really indicate our max capacity within those facilities. So some dogs who are boarding with us will be doing daycare, and we're never going to have more than that many dogs within the facility because of the capacity restrictions, just of the space that we have and for the happiness and health of the dog. So our facility max is basically our daycare max. Some of those dogs might happen to be boarding with us.
Okay, then I have a question also about your parking. For the veterinary, are you going to have, I'm looking at my monitor, but it's really tiny when I look at it. Is there going to be a veterinary sort of an emergency parking area? Or, for example, somebody who's taking a dog in and out after surgery, or bringing a dog in that's been struck by a car and it needs to be carried in. Is there areas that are specifically designed for that or set aside for that?
I personally don't directly know the answer to that, and I don't know the exact needs of the veterinary professionals in regards to that facility. I think it would be an appropriate question for another professional within that field.
Okay. I have a question about parking lot security. The parking lot is not far from Route 206, which is a major road in this area. Is there, I'm looking at this, is there a fence? I mean, I know the worst nightmare for a boarding facility is a dog gets loose and every once in a while it happens, even if it's the owner bringing the dog in. Is there some type of fencing or buffering or something between your parking lot and Route 206?
So we do not have any fencing, in regards to the portion of the building that you're discussing. None of our locations have fencing within the front of the facilities. We acknowledge that as a concern, and we address it through our training protocols within our operating system, and we call it a solid handoff within our system. So we are physically handing a leash to a customer in the lobby inside the building. They are confirming that they have secured that leash, and then they're moving outside of their facility. We've never run into a circumstance where there's ever been a challenge with a dog getting loose and entering into any type of negative circumstance in that regard.
Okay. I missed at the beginning, with the attorney, I know there'll be other testimony, so you're just doing operations, correct? You're not doing variances or waivers?
Correct. I would not be addressing those, simply operations and canine brand related questions or boarding and daycare industry questions.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Anybody else on the public line that has a question for this witness?
Yes, I do.
Can you please state your name and address, please?
My name is Robin Blair. I'm the owner of Dog Days Daycare Center on Rosefield Road. And I would like to ask if there are any minimum age requirements for dogs, that is puppies, to be in the daycare groups?
So to enter our daycare group, the requirement is that the dogs will need all their vaccinations, or at least the first stage of the vaccination, to enter our play group. Traditionally, that's not reached to at least 3 months in age, so we're tending to find customers enter into our system after 3 months of age, as they become more adapted to the public and everything. So we do require those shots, and traditionally that cannot be achieved before the 3-month mark. So a newborn puppy at 8 weeks old, we are not allowing into the daycare system at our current stage, and we don't intend to be honest with you.
And does Canine Resorts have a spay neuter policy on dogs in daycare?
So we do. So any dogs that are over 10 months of age do need to be spayed or neutered to participate within the daycare environment. To stay at our facility, you do not have to be spayed or neutered. There are plenty of owners that do not wish to spay or neuter their dogs, and that's totally acceptable. There we go into our one-on-one playtime. In regards to the play group, we make that decision because we want to make sure that there's no kind of hormones flowing through the air that could spark negative play.
And the last question, can you tell us who the franchisee is going to be for this location? Or is it going to be a corporate run facility?
So this is not a corporate run facility. This is going to be owned by the resort owner, Luca Blackman, who is the applicant of the entity applying for this application.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can anybody else from the public line have a question for this witness? Okay, I don't hear any Fred, so I guess you can put it back on mute.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Okay, Mr. Donat.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to call up our next witness, architect Mike Pilko.
Sorry, please do.
Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to qualify Mr. Pilko, or would you like the board attorney? Would you like to do it?
No, you can do it. And we normally have the witness themselves qualify themselves, but
okay, fair enough.
I'll turn the witness. Yeah, hello?
Yep.
Mr. Pilko, can you please raise your right hand? Is your right hand raised?
Yes, my right hand is raised.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Pilko, for the benefit of this board, may you please state your educational qualifications?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Syracuse University. I have a NCARB certification, and which allows me to get licensed in multiple states. I've been a licensed practicing architect for 21 years. I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey for 14 years, and I've been recognized as an expert in the state of New Jersey in Aberdeen Township, Cherry Hill Township, Long Beach Township, and Eatontown Borough.
Okay, we can accept your qualification then.
Thank you.
Mr. Pilko, may you please, for the benefit of the board, describe the architectural plan?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to. Do we know what these exhibits were marked before I get into it? I believe there is a 3-sheet set that consists of a floor plan.
It's also on our website.
Right.
Okay.
And 2 elevations.
Yep.
As best I know, none of the architectural plans have been identified for the record as applicant's exhibits.
This is Patrick.
That would be correct, That would be Roosevelt, I'm not speaking. Attorney Anderson, that would be correct. Our architect did not have an opportunity to address the board the last time. So, if my memory serves me correctly, this would be exhibit 4A.
Well, the dash, but, given the questions about 4, let's skip 4. I don't think it's necessary, but let's skip 4 and, take the next one as A5, if you would.
Thank you. Mr. Pilko, please continue.
Great, thank you. I would, based on how these were loaded on the website, I would actually like to work in reverse order. And I would like to start with the floor plan which is the last sheet of the 3-sheet set, and walk you through this canine facility. And I will walk you through the customer path, so to speak. So, for those of you that have scrolled to that floor plan and are looking at it on your screen, what we have is a square, we'll call it a square shape, and in the lower left-hand corner, there's a set of doors, and that would be the entrance doors to the Canine Resort. And on the right-hand side of the sheet, you'll see another set of double doors, and those are the doors that lead you into the veterinarian office. To put some statistics on it, the veterinarian's office is approximately 1,600 square feet of floor area. The Canine Resort is approximately 7,800 square feet of floor area, and the total building size is approximately 9,400 square feet. So, as Mr. Katz had mentioned, a customer will come and walk in through the front door into the vestibule, to the first room, and then into the reception area, and turn immediately to their left. And what is on the left bottom side of the plan is a reception desk. And it's at that point that a pet care technician would accept the animal for either daycare, or they would check the animal in for boarding. And from an animal's perspective, if they're a daycare animal, they would turn to the right, they would head up the plan along that long hallway to, we'll call it the hallway T intersection in the middle of the plan. They turn to the left, go further back, and there's 2 rooms in the back that are our large dog daycare and our small dog daycare.
I recognize the text on the screen is very difficult to read, but the large dog daycare is the room at the very top of the plan, and the small dog daycare is the slightly smaller room just below it. For those customers that are boarding their animals, they would come in same route through the vestibule to the reception desk, and then the pet care technician would take the board animal to one of the 3 different accommodation types that Tim had mentioned. If you go straight up from the reception desk, there's a hallway where it looks like there's 6 rooms. You see 3 on each side of the hallway. Those are the luxury suites, which are approximately 8-foot by 8-foot rooms that can accommodate 1 or a couple of dogs in them if a family has a few dogs and they want to be together. If they're going to the crate area, they would come out of the reception area up that little hallway like we were going to the daycare, but instead turn right. And there's a small room that has 6 dashed lines in it that's marked cages, and that's the room that has the crates in it. The other accommodations there's 4 of these rooms that have what look like an office cubicle, which is a 6-foot by 8-foot cubicle, and these are the executive suites. With as you move to the right of the reception area, Executive Suite 1, Executive Suite 2, 3, and then just below the daycare is 4. I may have that numbering off, but those are the 4 executive suites. You'll notice that they're not in one great big room. They're compartmentalized into smaller rooms, and that the reason they're in smaller rooms is for management of the HVAC system, so that we don't have too large of a population in one given area. Continuing through the plan, as you move up past the luxury suites, to your left-hand side you'll see restrooms. Those toilet rooms are for both employees and for customer use. And then just above those restrooms, we have a food area and a laundry area. That's where the staff would prepare the food. And above that is the dog wash area, and that's the room that they will bathe the dogs in, and then bring them back to their accommodations. Now, outside the space, I know that there was a comment in Mr. Katch's testimony about the outdoor areas. If we go to the top of the plan, you'll see our large dog daycare to the upper left. And then immediately to the right of that, you're going to see the large dog outdoor exercise yard, which is roughly 1.5 times the size of the large dog daycare room. And then just below that, we have a small dog outdoor exercise yard. And then below that, we have the antisocial dog exercise yard. And you'll see another couple of cubicles that are there. And those cubicles are for those dogs that need to be outdoors but don't deal so well with other dogs, and they can have their own area where they can relax. From the access, as Tim had mentioned, from the large dog daycare area and the small dog daycare area to the outdoor play areas is a set of double doors. You'll see they're oversized double doors so that the dogs can run out. And then when they're done with their outdoor time, can be brought back into the rooms. Further to the right of the plan, there is an area that we've identified that they may want to do an expanded outdoor play area at some date in the future when the facility gets to that phase 4 stage that Tim mentioned, fully stabilized. That's a walk through the floor plan. Now, if it pleases the board, if you like to, I can keep going and talk about the elevations and finish up, or if you have specific plan questions, I can stop and we can talk about those.
With the pleasure of the board.
This is Janine Erickson. I actually have a question, and it's really a follow-up to Susan Gulliford's comment about some sort of fencing or barrier that would prevent, if just by chance a dog did happen to get loose from the owner walking out to their car and run out to 206. It's an extremely busy road, and I actually just recently saw a similar situation happen with a dog right in Somerville, and it did get loose out of a dog store that's in town, and the dog ran out into the street, and it actually did get hit by the car. So that would be a huge concern for the safety of the animal. As much as he tries to safeguard their safety, you know, things do happen, and I think it would be something to consider to have some sort of barrier that would prevent that if for any reason the dog got loose, that they'd not be able to get out onto 206 and potentially have an accident.
You know, I respect that question. I don't, you know, my testimony is specific to the architecture of the building. I think Mike Ford or perhaps the civil engineer may be better suited to answer that testimony, or Tim Katz. I know Tim made testimony about how their handoff is, but I'm not an expert in you know, the site planning portion of it.
Okay.
Any other questions from members of the board so far?
We're picking up some distortion in the background, so whoever has it, please mute your phone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no, I don't hear any further questions, so if you want to continue.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, go ahead. Somebody had a question.
Mr. Chairman. To the extent feasible in the site plan, the applicant is amenable to erecting a fence as to guard against escape of loose dogs.
Okay, and we'll hear that from which witness?
Mr. Ford, I'd imagine, to the extent he's called up again. But
okay, and I think he will
somehow a condition of approval. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving along, we'll address the elevations, and I'll try to be short and sweet and to the point. I'm moving now to the very first page of the set. It is marked SK2, and it is the architectural renovation elevations of the building. And for those of you who are familiar with this, what this building looks like today, our proposed improvements are going to make this building look significantly different than it does right now. I would say the largest and most measured improvement is going to be the erection of a parapet wall all the way around the structure. So currently the top of the structure is about 12'2" above the grade, and we're proposing to raise the walls of the structure to roughly 19 feet. And the reason for that is we're going to use that to give the building some more presence, but we're also going to use that to screen all of our mechanical equipment. You know, we anticipate that we're going to have 5 rooftop units on the roof of this building. We're going to have some exhaust fans on the roof of this building. We may have some other miscellaneous HVAC equipment on the roof, and having a screen wall of roughly 6'8" above the roof line, we're going to be able to hide most of that behind, or all of that behind that parapet wall, so it won't be visible from the street or adjoining properties. Canine as a brand likes to use a EFIS, or an exterior insulation finish system, and that's what we have noted on our plan. I know that the that there was a review comment that came back from the zoning officer saying that that's limited, and what we would do is we would comply with the zoning ordinance and adjust our materials to make sure that we bring that into compliance. And you can see on the top elevation, we have two entrances. On the left-hand side, we have an entrance for canine resorts. On the right-hand side, we have an entrance for the proposed veterinarian suite. There's a lot of technical jargon on these plans, and I can go into the jargon in more detail if the board would like, but in the interest of moving things along, I was just going to scroll down to the third page, or it's the second page in the set, but the third page of my presentation. This is a signage plan that was prepared by the brand Canine's signage vendor, Triangle Sign Services. This was not prepared by our office. After we prepared our work, Canine went through a rebranding of the whole brand, and what Triangle has prepared is the signage that this franchisee would like to be putting on their building. I understand that we're limited to 40 square feet on the primary facade, and I believe it was 20 square feet on the secondary facade. And so what we would like to do is put a 40 square foot sign over our front door for Canine Resorts, and a 20 square foot sign facing Route 206, and I think it's the jug handle of the logo. And that concludes me walking through the architectural portion of the plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so let me open it up to Mark Anderson. Do you have any questions or comments at this point?
I do have a couple of questions about the signs, but I think initially I would leave those to Patrick. If I don't think all of my questions are answered when he goes through things, if you could come back to me, I'd appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Patrick, you're next.
Yes, Patrick speaking. I'm just going through my report real quick. Bear with me because I just turned the page. Mr. Poca, can you hear me correctly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm looking at, I'm going back to the sign comments on my report, located on page 4, and then partially on page 5. From my understanding from your testimony is that you'll come into compliance with the sign ordinance. Have I understood that correctly?
Patrick, that is correct. It is our intent to present a sign package that will comply with the ordinance.
Okay, so therefore a waiver will not be required, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The next part I'm going to is the architectural site design overlay comments, which is on page 5, and that continues on page 6. I believe one of them that you already answered was about masking the HVAC appliances on the rooftop, which should be sufficient as long as they're screened from view. I'd like to start on letter on page 6, letter C, about the roofs and roofing materials.
Yes. We have an existing, the existing building is a flat roof building that appears to be a non-conforming building. It's our intention to try and lessen the nonconformity by adding this parapet wall and using that parapet wall to act as a screen and making the building appear taller.
Okay, so you'll request, you probably still need a waiver from that comment.
Yes.
Okay. Can we go to letter E, the facade materials?
Yes.
Now, you addressed the, I'm sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
Sure, I think you commented already on E7 already, and if you're going to comply with that, that's fine. If we can go down to 8, 9, and 12, if you could provide some additional comments for that, please.
Sure. What, on E7, what we would be doing rather than EPIS, we would be doing our EPIS detailing and keeping it within the 30%, and I would be using a hardy plank or cementitious type siding for the remainder of the structure. The color range of these palette of these is a buff color, and had we been in person, I would have presented an image of the Fanwood location and talked about it. But the ethos is all of smooth finish. The color is all of a off-white buff color, and we want a very monolithic looking building, so we're going to pick a cementitious siding that's of a very similar color to our ethos. So it maintains that monolithic look. As far as aluminum is concerned, all of our windows and doors are going to be a dark bronze or black in color, with even some gold ornamental accents on the front doors. And as you can see in our elevations, we are adding considerable amount of trim and detailing to the facade. And so that we're trying to meet the spirit of comment number 12.
Okay. So it sounds like technically you'll just need waivers from number 8 and possibly number 7.
Yes. Yes, we will have no brick.
Yep.
There will be no brick on this building, so I don't think 8 is going to apply to us.
And number 12, technically number 12 too.
Yes, technically number 12, because I don't, it ties into the waiver of the roof. Because I'm not adding any gables, but as you can see, we're adding a considerable amount of trim and profile and detail to the building.
Okay, letter G, I'll reserve for Mr. Ford's testimony, unless you can provide some information on it for letter G.
Yes, I can. There's a delicate handoff between Mr. Ford and myself when it comes to lighting. Obviously, Mr. Ford will be handling any of the site lighting for purposes of lighting the parking lot for safety, and we will be handling any lighting, any entrance area lighting or decorative lighting or security lighting that happens in the back of the building for the outdoor play yards and around the building. All of our fixtures are going to be ornamental in type and architecturally compatible, so we will comply with item 6.
Great. I see that there was a fence detail, and there was also the comment about possibly having a fence, and another location for some extra protection. My comment on letter I is pretty specific where, the fence is going to be so much in height. From what I could tell from the applicant's previous presentation involving the operations, there was a detail in there that there was a fence approximately 8 feet high. Will that still be entailed at this location also, or would you consider something different?
Around the area fencing that is very important to the franchise and the system is around the outdoor exercise yards. And the intention is that fence is all 8 feet tall. So that it is the tallest fence that we can put in so that the large breeds, don't have an opportunity to try and leap over top of it. And it provides a great deal of privacy so that somebody can't be, jumping up and looking over the fence and causing a distraction to the dog in the yards.
Okay. So obviously we'll need a waiver from that, and I'm not sure when we'll talk about the other point about any type of security fencing in the future, but either one will need a waiver, I assume, from the fence height and the fence design. Is the design of the fence going to be chain link? Is it going to be a solid board on board? What type of design are you thinking?
I'm sorry. It will be a PVC. It will be a solid PVC privacy fence. That kind of looks like a board on board. I believe in Mr. Tax's exhibit, there were some pictures that depicted the fence, and that is certainly our intention of what type of fence this is going to be installed in this facility.
Sure. As to make a recommendation to the board, because it's such a long fence and will be rather sightly, if we can look at the plantings along that fence and make sure they're sufficient to provide a buffer, so we don't look at a continuous run of an 8 foot high white fence. I think that would help visually.
Yes, I would agree that the site plan should be revised to install additional landscaping where possible in front of that fence to provide a buffer. This is Tom Nath who's speaking.
Was that Mr. Donut?
No, that was Tom. That was Tom Nath, right?
That was the board engineer.
Yep.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Patrick again, moving on to letter J on page 6 and partially on page 7. We go into the driveway and parking lot design standards. Any comment on the screening on the parking lot?
I'm going to let Mr. Ford address those.
Okay. And then also, anything about the landscaping around the recycling? I guess that'd be Mr. Ford's testimony?
Yes, that's Mr. Ford's testimony as well.
Okay, great. No further questions at this time for the architect.
Okay, Tom, any questions, engineering questions?
No additional questions at this time. They've been covered.
Okay. Any more questions from the members of the board?
Chairman Mark Anderson.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
As expected, Mr. Gorman did cover some of the sign issues, but I do have a couple of other, at least, about this. Mr. Gorman has pointed out in his memo that not only are the primary and secondary facades reversed, in a sense, which requires a waiver. But he also points out, I think correctly, that the architectural drawings are inconsistent in that one of the drawings shows only on the parking lot side an identification sign for Canine Resorts and a proposed, although not presented, sign for the veterinary clinic. But one of the other, I think the previous page shows other lettering on that facade. So I would like clarity as to which picture is correct.
Mr. Anderson, I'd be happy to address that. The color elevations prepared by Triangle Sign Services is the picture that is correct, that the corporate would like this franchisee to install on this facility.
All right, so you are saying that, let me make sure I get trying to find which page it is. But
it would be page 2 of this exhibit.
All right, this is, from my observation, this is the one that's, where the logo is in gold.
That is correct.
Okay, so that is your testimony as to the signs which are proposed by the applicant, not the previous page.
That is correct.
All right, that resolves my questions, and thank you.
Any more questions from members of the board?
Vicki Haynes, I have a quick question. Will there be an emergency generator on site?
At this point in time, there is not an emergency generator planned for this location.
What if you have, quite a few dogs and it's either the middle of the summer or the middle of the winter and the power goes out for 24 hours?
I would need to defer that question to Mr. Catch, because that's an operational question that he'd be better suited to answer.
Okay, we can have him back later, I think.
Tim Catch is here, permission to answer the question, or we can divert to later.
Yeah, go ahead and answer the question.
Okay, yeah, so we actually do not have generators at any of our facilities currently within our system. We've even been through Hurricane Sandy at the facility in our family location, and our protocol throughout the country is to partner with emergency service providers such as ServPro in catastrophic situations. So in the event of any type of long-term outage, meaning more than 2 or 3 hours, they'll be coming to our facilities and providing temporary generators that are either mobile and other things to facilitate the property in terms of its condition.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members of the board? Okay, hearing none, time to open up for questions from the public. Fred, would you unmute the public line, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay, at this point, is there any questions from members of the public for this witness?
Yes.
Please state your name and... Okay, Susan.
Dallas Worth Club Road. I just have one question about the signs. There's 2 facade signs, but they're also a freestanding or monument sign somewhere?
I'm not familiar I don't believe that the zoning ordinance permits a monument sign at this location. And as a result, the only signs being submitted in this application are the wall signs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from another member of the public? Okay, I hear none, so Fred, you can mute the line again, please.
Are now in listen-only mode.
Okay, we're finished with this witness.
Mr. Chairman, for the pleasure of the board, might I call up our engineer, Mr. Mike Ford, to briefly touch on some of the outstanding items that have been discussed.
Okay. Mr. Ford has previously been sworn in, so, right?
Okay. Mike Ford, are you there? Yes, because hello, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Maybe I can, try to address the questions I've heard.
Oh, Mr. Ford, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing Mike
You
too.
sound like far
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay. Thank you. Mike Ford speaking, Van Cleef Engineering, engineer for the project, testified at the last hearing. Here to address questions, and to the extent I've heard questions, first with the, I'll kind of work backwards. With regards to Mr. Gorman's, review, there was a question regarding items J and L, and as I recall at the last hearing, we testified that we would provide shrubs along Route 206 at the end of the parking area, and we would also provide the street trees along Route 206 as requested. That's item J in his report, and then item L, we would provide shrub landscaping around the trash enclosure. A new comment, as I recall, that we heard this evening was the potential for the requester need for some landscaping around the 8-foot high solid fence that would enclose the outdoor turf areas, which are behind the existing building and the proposed addition, basically between the building and the jug handle, access back to Route 206 if you're headed northbound, making, headed toward Duke Parkway West. And we do have some of the tree mitigation plantings along that fence line, and I would suggest that we would provide landscaping to the satisfaction of the board's engineer. I understand he was, I think, made a comment earlier about that screening for that fence. Only the portion along the jug handle is visible from the road or the public property. The rest is adjacent to the owner's site. And then I guess lastly, with regards to the concerns that have been raised regarding additional fencing along Route 206, then I would say that perhaps the one area that we could provide additional fencing, I understand Mr. Garnett indicated the applicant would be willing to do so, would be perhaps not an 8-foot high fence, but a shorter fence, say 4 feet high, basically from along the parking, the edge of the parking. So, for example, you're in the parking area and you're walking your dog to the building for the potential that a dog were to get loose at that juncture, and to preclude them from having direct access out to Route 206, that fence would be provided from the corner of the building, perhaps, to along the front of our parking area toward the driveway access to Route 206. And then lastly, since the last hearing, we did prepare and exhibit a new plan that was submitted and already commented on by the board's engineer, and that is a site plan that represents the shift in the lot line between this facility and the temple that was agreed to as a condition of the temple's application that was heard and approved. And that was submitted to the board, and that would be a lot line shift that would put the entire driveway access to this site from Route 206 on this site's property, and avoid that, I think, area of concern where the property line was down in the middle of that driveway. And then lastly, to confirm what we stated at the last hearing, that exhibit also represented not only the lot line shift, but our commitment at the last hearing to eliminate
the prior desire to convert our existing driveway from Route 206, which is an entrance-only driveway at this point. We had, as part of the initial application submittal, suggested that we would perhaps go to DOT and try to convert that to an entrance and an exit. We heard loud and clear concerns about that change, and we've, as stated at the last hearing, changed the plans to reflect that that driveway traffic pattern would be unchanged. That is, it would be an entrance-only driveway, and to facilitate traffic movements for this application, it would be consistent with the existing facilities operation. That is, the temple and the prior use of this site as a daycare facility for children, not dogs. Would be access to Route 206 from this site would be through a mutual cross-access easement, blanket access easement that would allow people exiting this site to traverse to the rear of the temple and back out to Route 206 at the existing driveway between the temple and your doctor's care. Consistent with existing traffic patterns, no change. And it sounds like I put everybody to sleep again.
No, I think you're going to have a couple of questions. Chicky?
Yes, Chicky Gaines. Mike, we have 5 or 6 pages of comments from our engineer. Could you just take it from the top? And because there's a lot of continuing comments, and I don't know, room for discussion or whatever. Can you, start with the, I guess the traffic impact, no, before that, I'm sorry. Where's the beginning of it? I guess site layout requirements, whatever the comments start. You just go through them.
That would be from paragraph. Okay. But before you get to that, Mike, Chicky, I thought you were going to ask a question about the right turnout at the end of the building.
Okay, I'll backtrack. On the western end of the parking lot, you've got exiting from the parking lot onto the street. I guess you call it not the highway. You're going to have to turn left. At the same time, you're going to have incoming traffic, so they're going to be making left turns into the parking lot. At least some people, they can go down a little bit farther and make left turns in at the more easterly entrance. But you're going to have traffic crossing each other. I'm concerned more at rush hour. During the day, it's probably not an issue. But is there any way to mitigate that confusion? We're going to have cars coming off the highway going 25, 30 miles an hour. How would you mitigate that possible problem?
Well, Ray, you're talking about our parking lot access driveway to the main entrance driveway to the facility, and somebody that wants to exit that parking lot, and right now they would have a stop sign condition and then have to obviously make only a left turn to circulate, down the driveway and behind the temple. Is that the concern, that area there?
Yeah. Yes. Is there any way of making, and I don't know, because of your situation, I don't know how else, how else can you handle that?
Well, there is a stop condition for our traffic vehicles, exiting the parking lot. I see on the site plan now, we don't, and I don't think the existing condition has this, where they say, no left turn, or no right turn, left turn only. We can add that signage to the site plan. Actually, we do. We have we have a stop sign and a no right turn sign shown on that amended site plan that was submitted. I would say perhaps the only other thing to consider would be to make that just an entrance only, driveway, and then anybody exiting our parking lot would have to exit through our driveway at the rear of the site. And that's the direction they would be headed anyway. I would, I think because of the stop sign condition for our traffic exiting onto that driveway, and people entering the site are coming from a decel lane on Route 206, and they do have the ability to continue straight, like you said, through to the back of the site.
This is John. I don't have a problem with a stop sign. Chicky, you don't think people are going to listen to the way it is now?
This is Frank, and I was looking at this, and if you made the whole flow one way only, so that whole thing, so they had to come up on the north side, on the east side rather. Chicky's concern is that you have somebody pulling out, and you have somebody coming in and they can collide. My concern is that you just have people cheating and just going right out on the highway if they can come right out there. So if you made it one way all the way through the parking lot and forced them to come out on the other end, that might address both of those issues.
I guess I would defer to the applicant and their attorney and perhaps our traffic consultant to see if there's any issues with that recommendation or suggestion. But I understand that I don't think from an engineering standpoint it would be problematic with, we would just do it with signage and striping.
Right, okay. Okay, so getting back to Chicky's request, then just going through the engineering report and hit the issues that you can answer first.
Yeah, sure. I think what I would say, Mr. Chairman, is to the extent the T&M report was reissued, I think it was reissued to respond to just the one plan sheet, the site plan that we provided. Our intent was not to address all of the comments in the review that we addressed at the last hearing, but to the record that we provided at the last hearing, we remain committed to addressing all of the engineers' comments to their satisfaction, and with regard to the items that suggested testimony be provided, I believe we covered it all at the last hearing. I don't think you should be confused by, the continued hearing, continued comments. Right.
Okay, so I agree that number 11 was added for your new plan. But, okay, so you're saying that the things that say not addressed or continuing are not your issues, then?
Well, wait a minute, does Tom agree with that?
I think that there's a few things that I can highlight that some of the comments have been discussed in testimony. Some of the comments, if the board were to consider approving this, are minor items that would be addressed during resolution compliance if it were to go that way. But I would bring up a couple items now just to clarify for the record and get additional testimony. So can you just confirm, Mike, that there is no work within the DOT right-of-way? You no longer need any access permits based on the revised layout?
That's Mike Ford speaking, and that's correct. Yes, no DOT.
So what issue was that? What item was that?
If we wanted to convert the driveway, if we wanted to convert the driveway to two-way, we wouldn't need a DOT permit.
That was item B as in boy 2.
Okay.
B4 is regarding the cross-access easement. I know you mentioned it briefly before. So can you just clarify for me again, is there an easement currently in place between lots 1.01 and 1.02? And then also, in addition to that, what about 1.03? because there's now this additional traffic is going to be going through the opposite road as well. So it appears that we would need an easement at that site also.
This is Roosevelt Dona, attorney for applicant. Respecting the easement, there is currently an easement in place for lots 1.1 and 1.2. I'm happy to report that in between our last meeting and today, we have been in conversation with the owners of lot 1.3, and we have agreed to enter into a 3-party easement agreement, a draft of which is actually being circulated among the parties presently.
Thank you. Some of the next comments have been discussed already, or they will be discussed with the traffic engineer, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Mike, I believe you previously indicated that you'll comply with all of our grading, drainage, and utility comments. Can you just confirm that you'll be giving us a capacity analysis to make sure that the existing system can handle any additional runoff, that there will be no negative impact to any of the surrounding properties?
Mike Ford speaking, that's correct.
Thank you. Touching on some of the landscaping again, this is comment E1 we had. I know you mentioned you'd add some additional landscaping in other spots. This comment was regarding the front of the building, between the parking and the front of the building. Do you have any objection to adding some additional shrubbery or foundation planting in that area?
No.
Thank you. The next 2 landscaping comments, I believe these were just minor typos, items that would be clarified on the plan.
Yes, the tree mitigation number, I testified to that at the last hearing with the number 16, and we would comply with all of the landscape comments to your satisfaction as a condition of approval.
Thank you. And you're still requesting a waiver for the maximum average illumination for the foot candles of the lighting? What's the fire?
Correct.
Is that correct? Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, yep.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
Can I interrupt? Why are you requesting a waiver on the lighting, Mike?
We talked about this at the last hearing, where the average is slightly over. We're actually a little better lighting than what's required. We're not less. And as I think I testified at the last hearing, I think it's more a function of, more current lighting and the LED type of fixtures as opposed to historic high-pressure sodium or metahalloid lights, which just results in a higher overall average. But we don't have any issues with spillover to neighbors or glare out onto the highway. That's all addressed with shielding or, lighting that is focused downward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike on this. I think it's rather de minimis exceedance. They're not that far over. They're still under 1 foot candle, so you really won't be able to notice it on the naked eye.
Okay.
Comment 6, previously testified that there will be no retail at this site. Can you confirm that there's no new lighting proposed in the outdoor turf area? Is that correct?
I think the architect just spoke to the building mounted lighting. Our site plan is really intended for the parking area.
Correct, so there's no pole-mounted lights out there, it would just be, any building lights.
Correct.
And comment 8 regarding the timing of the lights, would these be placed on a timer, or would there be different security lighting at night, so we don't have the full parking lot lit at the full level 24/7?
Yes, yeah, normally we, do put it on timers and perhaps not all, there's only 6 fixtures in the parking area, but perhaps, you know, half of those could go off after a certain hour and just, you know, although there, you know, there'll be people there overnight, obviously, because there's dogs overnight, but it can be, reduced the levels. I would say, this is an operational question, I would say, actually.
Chicky Hayes, we had testimony, there'd be nobody there overnight.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, but for the record, I believe it was 75.
Yes, it's the dog, right?
Yes, it was testified earlier that there would be no employees overnight though.
Right. So, but I'm saying from a security standpoint, or to keep people, it's similar to, let's say, Hillsborough High School. There's lights there overnight, but there's not people there, but it's really a security issue, or if, there was, you know, police to have to respond, there would be some lighting available. I would defer, you know, to the operational, aspect of the facility and the operators and the owners, how they want to handle and what the board's pleasure is with regards to lighting. You know, after hours.
Yeah, I think typically, you know, if they're reduced to something like 50% would be sufficient.
Right. So we can identify on the site plan of the 6 site lights, 3 of them could remain on overnight. The other 3 would be on timers that would be turned off after the facility operational hours. And typically that's about half hour after closing to allow for employees to leave.
Unless any board members object, I wouldn't object to that based on the surrounding uses being non-residential. Moving on to the miscellaneous section of our letter, a few of these were addressed already. There are just a few comments, items 4, 5, and 6 regarding construction details. These would be addressed in any revised plans moving forward, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. That's all I have for the witness at this time.
Okay, any more questions from members of the board? Hear none. Mark, do you have any questions, additional questions?
I do not, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, we probably need to open this up to members of the public again, so, I'll ask for, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I just have a few comments, if you may.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. It's Mr. Ford, Patrick speaking, how are you?
Okay, thank you.
Good. Just a few things to go over. This has been something to the board's attention is that there is a area at the back of this property that's for the future expansion of the fenced-in exercise area for the dogs. So theoretically is at some point in time, if they're proposing for this fenced area to be as part of this application, that you'll have further extension of the fence. I'm looking at this as now we're going back towards the residential properties closer to the back, and then we might have some additional linear feet added to this existing 8-foot high fence already. If this is going to be a phased project, and I don't know if it's going to be a phased project, but it looks like it's going to be, that when they're ready to come in, if they're ever ready to come in for the additional fence, that we have the opportunity to review the buffering and the landscaping in the area to make sure it's sufficient, so we're not staring again at a long 8-foot-high fence.
Mr. Gorman, Mark Anderson, it really seems to me that this is going to require a modification of the site plan, assuming that the existing proposal was approved.
Correct. You'll have some modification of the site plan if approved. We just need to know, we need a fence detail that needs to be on the plan, but I'm looking out for the future here, so it doesn't get missed. Or number two, if the applicant is...
What I mean is, the applicant will have to come in to request amended site plan, at which time, of course, they would have to provide all the details necessary to gain that approval.
Well, and I'm going to get to that next, that if it's going to be an amended site plan to that next, and you're going for the use variance, then you're looking at an expansion of a non-conforming use.
Yes, you are correct.
So, the main question is this going to be a phase project, as you'll have phase 1 or phase 2, and approve it at this time, or do we have to come back, or if it's not, then we're going to have to come back and come back to the board.
I can only say that I understood the plans to be the latter, but perhaps the applicant or one of the applicant's representatives can speak to that.
Okay, Mike Ford speaking. With regards to the engineering aspect of this, first on plan sheet 8, there's a copy, or there's the fence detail will be provided. It's the same fence that's shown, and I think what you've identified as Exhibit A2. There was the detail of the turf, the outdoor turf area, and the fence in that A2 exhibit. And then with regards to screening, and it would be the same 8-foot fence around all the outdoor turf areas. The area we've identified on the site plan is potential expansion of the outdoor turf area, and the applicant and their attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that they wish to have that approved at this time, and the only reason it's identified as potential areas because they, as a matter of commitment, in fact, they want to do the turf section that's labeled outdoor turf area, and then if project financing and construction costs allow, or they wish to enhance the outdoor area, they would provide that.
Excuse me, Mike, one second, Mike, I'm sorry. We have a lot of distortion in the background.
Yeah, I think that might be somebody else's. So the fence detail is the same as A2. And the potential area is like all the aspects from a site engineering standpoint are shown on the site plan. And to the extent the fence around that expanded area needs to be screened, additionally, we do have a commitment of tree mitigation trees that are already surrounding that area that are shown on plan sheet 6. And perhaps we can use some of those plantings not as deciduous trees, but as evergreen trees to provide the additional buffer to the extent it's needed to our jug handle to the north or the rear property line.
Mr. Chairman, of course I defer most of these landscaping comments to our board engineer, but in this case, since this is going to be a possible future improvement, it would be practical for the township to have the ability to, when this does go back in, to review the buffering situation at that point to make sure it is sufficient.
Okay, so what does that mean? My answer to that is no. I mean, this is not what I had understood the plans to reflect. Potential expansion to me is not a request for current approval. If there's a request for current approval, frankly, I think that needs to be clarified. I think we need to assure that it doesn't trigger additional planning and engineering comments.
There was a commitment earlier, Mike Ford speaking, with regards to this 8-foot wide fence to provide additional landscaping. This would be the same section of landscaping around the potential expansion. We can clarify the plan by, rather than use the word potential expansion, call it, I'll say phase 2, in the first area, phase 1. And then the landscaping and all the plantings and other engineering aspects would be done, or actually already are shown on the plan, and to the extent they need to be modified to the satisfaction of your engineer, we would do so on the site plan.
And when would you do that, Chief?
I think that this is a significant change in what has been presented to the public. I think that I am having trouble seeing that it does not require additional notice. I do not think that something that's called potential future on a plan gives the public reasonable notice that the applicant is asking for approval of that immediately.
Silence.
Well, I mean, this is Patrick speaking. The plans that were given to us from the beginning did show this area. And from what Mr. Ford provided was, I believe, calculations showing what would be that impervious area. Mr. Ford, can you clarify?
Yes. Yeah, the bulk standards include that area. We actually identify footnote 7 on the zoning requirements on plan sheet 3 indicates what the total impervious coverage would be if you included lot 7, or number 7, which if you included the expanded outdoor area. And it shows that we're still under the 50% maximum allowable, 60% maximum allowable impervious.
This is, right, to me, a much more fundamental issue than that. I don't dispute Mr. Ford's representation of what's on the plan, but from a public viewing standpoint, something is labeled potential future does not make me comfortable that the public has been noticed that that is a current request.
Mr. Donati, any comment on that?
Attorney Anderson, if I might add, these plans were presented at our first hearing. They've been on the site as prescribed by state statute for the 10 days, and figure that's a Scrivener's error. Right? The dimensions and the property have been represented, as Mike Ford explained. We're not adding anything new.
I really cannot agree with that. Certainly what's on the plan is on the plan. I'm not disputing that in the slightest. But I think that there is a serious question of whether the notation on that plan gives the public a reasonable notice that what is requested is something for immediate approval. I will tell you, I did not interpret it that way.
Mr. Chairman, you know what, it's now 10:20. May I make a suggestion? They're obviously not finished with their testimony and their witnesses. I don't know if changing their notice, Mark, you'd have to decide this. But I tend to agree with Mark. I'm not going to take a chance on something that's labeled, future possible development. But I would say, we'll have to carry this, application, obviously. Maybe this can be somehow worked out, by the next meeting.
I mean, we stop normally taking new testimony at 10 p.m. anyway, so when they still have the planner and maybe another witness to go, so there's no question we have to carry this. The thing is, can we get it, our next special meeting is on the 17th, can those all be resolved by the 17th and notice and everything, or do we have to go out to the first July meeting?
From our side, I can absolutely notice by the 17th that there's a slot available. Attorney Rose.
I'm sorry, you said you can or you cannot?
I can. We are able to comply with the re-notice requirement by the 17th.
Okay, now, it's going to require notice to go out in the next, what I see, tomorrow or the next day.
All right, so I'll have to do it tomorrow.
Okay, now, I ask you a question.
Can you get publication there?
What?
Can you get publication?
That question is this Patrick, is that a question for me?
The question is for Mr. Donat, yes. Because it has to actually be published 10 days before the meeting.
Well, at this point, tomorrow morning, first thing, I'll give Hillsborough Beacon and your backup newspaper a call to see when we can get in. But my mail notices can go out tomorrow, and to the extent we can be published by or before the 7th of June, we will.
Yes, I agree with your count of the days. It would appear that the publication would have to be before June 7th.
Okay, now the next question I have is Mike need to make changes to the site plan from all the things we discussed, or can be left for, later on?
Mr. Chairman, I have a list of things that I was going to go over, and that was one of them. It really seems to me that there are a fair number of changes to these plans that perhaps it would be better for everybody if they were reflected on the plans by the next meeting. This would certainly be one of them.
Good. And then my question for Mike Ford, can the plan be updated by, Monday and put back on the website so those would be, on there?
Monday's not 10 days.
Huh?
Monday's not 10 days. Monday is not 10 days in advance.
Really? Sunday. Oh, Sunday. It's really Friday. 2 days.
Well, Friday. I assume for the township purposes, Friday, yes.
Yeah, okay, so just, can we go through so Mike knows what needs to be done? And so,
I do not have a list that I could recite for you right now. I could put it together from my notes fairly readily, but I don't have a list, although I think perhaps more important is what the engineer and the planner have.
Yeah, this is Tom Napier. I think if Mr. Ford go through the two letters and address as much as he can from the letters, some of them are rather simple items, cleaning up some details, some notes. Perhaps you could add the landscaping that was discussed, clarify the fence height, clarify the language on when that's proposed, if it's proposed at this time, or if it's a future phase.
And Patrick, anything else from your end, you point?
Yeah, there's some limited comments from my memo, that Mr. Ford can attest to. We still need to hear from the planner and from traffic circulation, from the traffic expert, of course. To my understanding, is that the veterinary office is only going to be 2 exam rooms, not 3, at this point. The signs are going to comply to the township ordinance. We've gone over some of the architectural design things, which some will comply and some will require waivers. And then that's all I have at the moment, and then some additional landscaping around the fence, facing 206. And then what we haven't resolved is, the placement of a fence to protect the dogs, whether we haven't determined the height, what's it gonna be made of, so on and so forth, so that's yet to be resolved in my book.
Or the location is, at least as best I understand.
Well, Mr. Ford provided a brief analysis, but if something could be provided on a plan, it would help.
Mr. Ford, were you planning to do something else tomorrow?
I have a public hearing before the, planning board of Hillsborough, similar to this, electronically. I'm looking forward to it.
No, I have a question. Can you, did you, just, everything that was just spoken, can you incorporate them back into the site plan by Friday?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Okay, so it seems like we've got all those issues out of the way. We have the planner and the traffic engineer for the next meeting. And that would be on the 17th, right, Patrick?
Correct. 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock.
The board will, the 17th is a special meeting, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And matter of fact, it was special for carryover from the K-9 application because,
okay, and as long as it's been noticed specifically for that, it being a special meeting, the notice will have to indicate that the K-9 application is on, or at least may be on.
Right. Matter of fact, after you brought that up, the site, the township website was changed to special meeting because the other application after this will be the public service one.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of other things that are carried over from the previous meeting, and I don't mean to suggest that Mr. Donat doesn't intend or hasn't already worked on these things, but just so that we don't lose sight of them, the applicant was to provide information on whether the temple would be permitted to use the K-9 parking for overflow, for instance, during holiday season.
And that would be by who would be the witness on that, traffic engineer or the applicant?
Well, it would be an agreement, as I understand it, so unless Mr. Donat thinks otherwise, it would seem to me he would have to work on. Likewise, I've asked the question of whether there is any limitation on the use of that driveway between the temple and your doctor's chair. There seems to be well, I shouldn't say seems, there is an assumption in this site plan that driveway, street, whatever it is freely accessible for the use of the K-9 site. I don't know that to be true. I don't know it not to be true, but I think
didn't we have testimony tonight that they had a 3-way agreement?
Correct. You may have missed the point. We have agreed, and we're actually in the process of drafting those easements as we speak. To the extent you need to see the drafts of those easements, or if you want to see the email correspondences, that's fine, but we have agreed to enter into a 3-way easement arrangement.
Well, I think it would be helpful if I could see whatever you have as a draft, or at least the latest draft when we get to the next meeting. But my question is a little deeper than that. Whether the parties agree or not, is that driveway or street, whatever it is that in fact available? Is it under control of solely these parties?
Is it, I'm sorry, you were interrupted, Anderson.
It is under control solely by these parties.
Thank you.
Gotta go to BOA.
What?
Right, those are the things that, I just didn't want to lose sight of.
Okay. Okay, everybody know what they need to do?
Isabel, it's Patrick. Our office will be in contact with you tomorrow morning.
Sure, if we could, for the benefit of the professionals on the call and the board members as well, this will be our third hearing to hopefully get this approved. At this point, is there any opportunity to perhaps limit who we need to bring back? As I'm already getting messages from our professionals respecting conflicts with other hearings. Is that something we can do tonight, now?
I think so. You have to come back, right?
I'll be here.
You'll be here. I think Mr. Ford has to come back. Right, the planner still has to testify. And the traffic engineer consultant, there's going to be questions for that person. And anybody else feel they need to talk to anybody else on the board? Hearing none, I think that's who I think it needs to be at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so next meeting, 17th of June at 7 p.m. We'll get together 15 minutes before that to make sure all the technical stuff is working. Let's call it evening. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
This is Attorney Roosevelt again. I just want to confirm, you do need us to renotice this application.
I was going to speak to that. It seems to me that further notice is required, and that notice will require an amended plan that is posted at least 10 days in advance on the website. If the applicant is requesting this area that says potential expansion is something that they're asking for present approval for. Otherwise, I do not see a need for additional notice. And Mr. Donat, if you wish, I would recommend to the board that they adopt a motion to adjourn on that basis. That is, no further notice unless the applicant wishes to make that change.
Okay, this is Frank. It was my understanding that they did wish to make that change, and that's why they wouldn't do the notice by tomorrow or Friday.
I think so. I just wanted to give the applicant out and the...
Right. Is that your understanding, Mr. Donat?
If you can give me a moment, let me just confer with the applicant.
Sure.
If the board were to adopt the adjournment as I had suggested, it would mean that the applicant would not have to make that decision tonight.
Right, but at the same time, they'd have to come back in the future to get permission to use that proposed area.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, no,
right. I think that's what they're trying to avoid. They're trying to sew this whole thing up with this group of hearings now.
I certainly understand that they want to do that. At the same time, they have some considerable burdens to notice and revise plans before the 17th. So,
and what I heard, they said they could do it. So we'll see what they come back with.
Just trying to give them some flexibility if we can.
We'll work to renotice tomorrow first thing. I'm going to reach out to your publications of record to understand if that's even possible at this point.
All right, Mr. Dodd, if I could ask you to let Mr. Gorman know as soon as you have an answer to that question, so he'll know about the schedule.
Thank you.
Okay, and if it's not possible, then we wouldn't have to renotice, and we come back, and you have to come in the future for that additional proposed area.
Well, if you can't get publication, the request may simply be to provide additional notice, but not have it heard on June 17th.
Mark, do they need to extend their time of decision now in case they don't make the deadline for the 17th?
The answer is next thing on my list, yes. My recollection is that Gorman said the time for decision is June 30th. If this can't be heard on the 17th, pretty clearly it's not going to be done by June 30th.
Hate to make decisions this late at night.
Well, Mr. Gorman can deal with Mr. Donat.
No, I'm just saying because, as I say, if they have two possibilities. If they can get everything under the wire, they can come back on the 17th and they get everything approved. Hopefully. But if they don't, and they still want to get everything approved in one shot, they'd have to go to the July meeting and then renotice for that one.
Correct. Mr. Donat and Mr. Gorman can resolve those issues tomorrow or Friday, whether it's on for the 17th or in the alternative that there will be an extension.
Okay. So then the motion to adjourn would be to what? To have them come back on the 17th?
Yeah, you want to do it till the 17th, it seems to me, and if it has to be carried further, so be it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for that? Anybody?
So moved.
Who was that?
Second.
Haynes.
Sandler, second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Valchek?
Yes.
Ms. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Stamler?
Yes, good night.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Walmacher?
Yes.
Chairman Haynes?
Chairman Herbert says yes, and hopefully we'll be back here with them on the 17th.
It's too late.
I know that the last name starts with H. That's very confusing. Okay, thank you for everybody for your patience, and have a good evening.
We're sorry, your conference is ending now.